Alrighty, and we are live. Welcome everyone to the 61st episode of Coaster Time, hosted by me, Carrick from coasterhour. And this stream will mostly be focused on discussing my first visits to IAAPA Expo and Disney World, along with my revisits to SeaWorld Orlando and the Florida Fun Spots. As with any stream, however, we will have other various segments, including news, Q&A, which will actually be a big portion of the discussion segments, along with Guess the Coaster. And if you want a more specific schedule, you can make sure to check out the itinerary or timestamps in a description down below. But with that being said, I'm going to go straight into the news. We have four big topics. Of course, I'll be rounding up IAAPA and talking about a few other things. So that's going to be the plan. And so we'll get started with that pretty quickly here. So that is going to be how we're going to get this started off. And getting into the news, we have our IAAPA Expo roundup. Just news that happened during the IAAPA Expo that took place last week. And so first of which is the Intamin Family LSM coaster. That model has been unveiled, and pretty much what that entails, that's going to be a new Intamin launch coaster model that has a 39-inch minimum height requirement, can go up to negative 0.4 Gs in airtime. It will also include onboard audio, or can include onboard audio, lighting, inversions as shown here, but doesn't necessarily have to. Backwards launches and spikes. So that is the Intamin LSM family coaster. Very exciting new model. And another win for the bingo card for those of you who follow me on Instagram. Intamin revealing a new coaster model this year was on the bingo card, so that one's filled out, thankfully. And then we also have 5 Intamin multi-dimensional coasters have been revealed to be in the works. Now, we don't know where they are. You can see in this picture 4 of them. There is a 5th one that was on the first page of these 2 photos by Amusement Insider. Credit to him, by the way. I have a link to his Twitter account in the description where I found these photos. But anyways, the speculation as to where these 5 multi-dimensional coasters are going, like I said, speculation, not confirmation. You have the Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift Coaster coming to Universal Studios Hollywood. That's believed to be one of these. Some people believe the Minecraft coasters, which we'll talk about in a bit. There's 2 of those being built, one in the US, one in the UK. Belief is that 2 of these could be for those. Space Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland, there's some belief that maybe this is also for that, the new Space Mountain that's coming over there. And then Universal Studios Florida recently listed Intamin as a contractor for a new project, so the belief is that perhaps this could be related to that as well. So, of course, we'll have to wait and see, but that's obviously pretty exciting to see all those new Intamin multi-dimensional coasters in the works. And we'll move on next to the terrain reveals at IAAPA. All these pictures were taken by me since I was there. It was really cool to see all these on hand. The first of which is actually not a train. On the top left is the RMC Wild Moose seat. I believe this was actually a 3D printed model of it. I saw that some people were able to sit in there. I didn't specifically request to do that, but I heard it was very comfortable, which is good to see. But these are the types of seats where you are going to be expecting to see on the RMC Wild Mooses. And then you have Raptera under it, the B&M Wing Coaster coming to Kings Dominion. They showed off their train there kind of as a surprise at the booth. And then you had Alpenfury at Canada's Wonderland. We knew they were doing an announcement, and it was to show off the new train. Being on hand there in person, I felt that the trains looked a little roomier than the previous Premier Rides train, so that certainly was good to see. They did not let people go sit into the trains. That actually kind of was the same for most of them, interestingly enough. And then you have the Taquani Beast train at Bond Luxury Amusement Park, which was the talk of, I think, the trade show amongst all the trains shown. Absolutely beautiful looking. This is coming to Bond Luxury Theme Park in Mexico. So, very exciting new coaster, and this car looks absolutely amazing. Lit up from the eyes and the sides as well. So, that one was a really cool one to see. Next, we have the Zamperla announcement. They unveiled Parc Spiroz, or Spiroz, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, in France's 2026 Naruto-themed family thrill launch coaster. This will be the main attraction coming to the park's 2026 Naruto-themed area, and this will be the park's 5th and largest coaster. Some stats of this specific coaster: it'll be 2,198 feet long, but it'll actually travel over several portions of track multiple times, so the actual traveled track length is 3,294 feet. It has a height of 103 feet, which I believe is reached on that back spike. And then there's also going to be a top speed of 47 miles per hour. 2 launches. It's only going to run with 1 train, but this is a small park, so that should be fine. Height requirement of 42 inches as it is a family coaster. And the last car is actually going to be backwards. That was a kind of a little known thing that was on the press release that they put out, is that the last car is actually going to be facing backwards. So that's pretty cool there. No say if that's like an upcharge or anything like the Australian parks, or if that's just going to be something that exists. So regardless, cool as these at Imperilla build one of these, and excited to see this one open up in the next few years here in 2026. Next, we have some more Bond Luxury theme park info. So this is a new theme park going to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico at the Vedanta World Resort over there. It's going to have a public/grand opening in 2026. 23 total attractions is what they're saying is the count for it. I've already documented all the credits that they have, but they're going to have a Vekoma Junior coaster, a Vekoma Suspended Family coaster, a Vekoma Switchback, a Mach-powered invert, and then the Vekoma Thrill Launch coaster, which is Tecuani Beast on the bottom left there, which is the one that we got a lot of new details about, which, speaking of that coaster will be 3,930 feet long, top speed of 65 miles per hour. We'll have 6 inversions, and will feature the first ever double rollover top hat, as they're calling it. So that's going to be one of the signature elements of the ride. They also revealed some more info about just various different things, including their Ludo-themed dinner show that you can see on the top right there. 360-degree show using water and screens. And then they also mentioned a new boat dark ride from Mach Rides. It's going to be similar in system to Pirates of Batavia at Europa Park. Not really much pictures of it yet, but it was mentioned. So this is a really exciting new project. I think a lot of people are now more aware of it just because of all the talk at IAAPA, so I'm very excited to continue to see it move forward and see the hype that it continues the build as it gets closer to opening. So that is certainly something that I like to see. And then next we have our last bit of IAAPA news related to coasters. I have some more things on my Instagram if you want to check out the archive there I have. But the layout for Yoi was revealed, and so you can see it on the top right there, or not even top right, just on the top there. And so the blue side, we already knew that like the blue side was going to be the family side, was not going to have any inversions. I will say from animations that some people have made looking at this layout, some of the airtime hills do look like they are going to be pretty strong, so that's definitely good to see. Both these coasters are also going to have a high 5 element, which is cool to see. And on the green side, the inversions you can expect to see. The green side will have a barrel roll down drop, a 0G roll, a cutback, a corkscrew, a barrel roll, and then a final corkscrew to finish out the ride. So, along with a few airtime moments and turns in between those elements as well. So, looks like they will complement each other very well. Looks like some very fun layouts in general. And then you have ZDT's Switchback. This was a bit of a surprise. It has been put up for sale. They actually had it for sale at the Gravity Group booth. Not sure if it actually sold there. I don't imagine it did, but hopefully this ride ends up going somewhere. Allegedly, the owners are looking to retire and have put rides up for sale, so that's why Switchback at ZDT's would go up for sale. Just because it takes up a significant plot of land in that family entertainment center's entire space. And then you have the SBF Visa spinner that was at IAAPA Expo that I got to ride. That is going to be going to an upcoming Malibu Jacks location in Denver, Colorado. Thanks to there's the Imperial Man on Adrenaline Nation Discord for kind of finding out that information. But yeah, so that is something to look forward to if you're in the area. I believe there's 2 SBF visas coming there in the near future, so that's certainly interesting. But yeah, that's going to do it for the just overall IAAPA News Expo news roundup. And we'll move on next to the Six Flags announcements. So obviously a lot of these have been talked about a lot, but I haven't done a stream since we got the official confirmation of a lot of these closures. I believe actually the last stream I did, just for reference, was the day before La Vibora was like pretty much agreed upon to be like closed. Like it got listed on RCDB and everything, but there were like some kind of rumblings going around. But for Cedar Point, just there's been a lot of closures that have been confirmed across the Six Flags chain. Cedar Point Sky Coaster has closed. For Six Flags Over Texas, La Vibora and El Diablo are both done. And then for Six Flags Great Adventure, this is obviously the big one. King Ka, Green Lantern, Zumanjaro, Drop of Doom, Twister, and Skyride have all closed for good, and most of which are now in the process of being removed. You can kind of include the Parachute Tower as well, but that was already confirmed to be defunct. It was just, just standing there, and now it's actually just finally going to get removed. So there you go. So that is like just all the rides that went defunct. And I could get into King Ka's situation specifically. I was really hoping just throughout the whole rumored process that they were going to come out and confirm the coaster's closure and give at least some form of last notice for people to ride it before it closed. The either park or corporate, whoever decided that, just decided to go a different route. I'm at least thankful that that a lot of content creators and people working at the park were getting the information out for those who were able to ride it. So that's very good. I think they were very successful in doing that. So that certainly is a good thing. But that is very unfortunate to see. Can certainly understand why removing it could make sense. And there's potentially even other reasons we don't know behind the scenes. But we know this coaster was super expensive to maintain, just year in and year out. So I could certainly see that. But that is not all we got. We got several 2026 announcements on the same day that King Ka's closure was confirmed. We got this entire list of things that we can expect to come in 2026. To be determined if this is the entire Six Flags chain lineup of attractions coming next year, or if this is only a significant part of that. But Carowinds will introduce a record-breaking water ride, which is definitely very much needed from what I've heard. Canada's Wonderland will add a new record-breaking water attraction. Kings Island will be getting some sort of new family thrill attraction. You have Knock Soak City getting some enhancements. Six Flags Magic Mountain is going to be getting a first-of-its-kind coaster in North America. Six Flags Great America is going to be celebrating its 50th anniversary with enhancements in a new kids area. You have Six Flags Great Adventure that's going to unveil a record-breaking launch coaster. A lot of people have speculated this will be the Mach Tower coaster concept, and I think that seems very likely at this point. Six Flags Over Texas will have a new record-breaking dive coaster. Could this be the potential Giga coaster? Giga Dive, I should say, coaster. And then Six Flags Mexico will be introducing a family thrill boomerang coaster. And we even got a little bit of a 2025 announcement with them too, as they announced that Boomerang is going to be rethemed to Batgirl, which hopefully will involve new trains and obviously a new color scheme. So those are that's a heavy lot of additions to throw out there. Very interesting the way they kind of use this to kind of potentially soften the blow of the King Ka news. I think it definitely worked. There were a lot of places reporting on the announcements that they did, rather than just all focusing on the world's tallest coaster closing. So I think it worked from that standpoint. But all of these 2026 editions are part of a sort of 2-year plan to invest $1 billion in the guest experience. So definitely a lot to look forward to, but obviously not without a cost with these rides that have closed, especially including Kingda Ka. And I know that there's a lot of sentiment toward some of these other attractions, such as obviously Zumanjaro Drop of Doom, the Sky Ride, Green Lantern, La Vibora, and Twister. So there is the Six Flags announcements in full. And then next we'll move on to our third of 4 news things. These next 2 will be a lot shorter just because there's a lot less moving parts to them. Although there is moving parts to this one. And this is about Disney's Hollywood Studios, which I was able to visit last week before this announcement came out. But they have unveiled that Rock and Roller Coaster is getting rethemed to the Muppets, and their Monsters Inc. land will take over Muppets Courtyard, forcing the closure of Muppet Vision 3D. The description of the Rock and Roller Coaster Muppets takeover is that the Muppets will be teaming up with some of music's biggest stars for a rockin' music festival. Some people have kind of looked at this and maybe questioned, is this just going to be completely Muppets, or is it going to be Muppets with like guest music artists perhaps? So a lot of speculation in terms of what exactly this retheme holds. I would certainly think the route of the Muppets interacting with music artists would definitely be a cool one to go down. But we'll see what happens. And obviously the coaster is currently themed to Aerosmith, but for one reason or another, maybe due to some controversies that have come up or the band kind of phasing out, I guess they've decided to make this move, maybe licensing, who knows. And then as for Muppet Vision 3D, the parks have said that they are looking to preserve the Muppet Vision 3D experience in some way. This was actually Jim Henson's, who's the creator of the Muppets. This was his last project. So this may not be the end for Muppet Vision, like in general. There may be a way we see it pop back up at Disney World or somewhere else. So definitely keep an eye out for that if you're a fan of the show. I did watch it when I was over there just because it was rumored to be on its way out, and it was a fun show. I'm not as attached to the Muppets, so I can't I don't have like a huge amount of like sentimental value towards it, but I know a lot of people do. So but yeah, that's just all the information. We finally know now where the Monsters Inc. land is going. It makes sense that it's taking over Muppets Courtyard just with all the infrastructure there, and yeah, should be interesting to monitor the next few years. And then lastly, we have our last announcement, which is about Merlin Entertainments. They have announced 2 Minecraft lands coming to a park in the UK, very much expected to be Chessington World of Adventures, and a park in the US, which really no one knows where that's going, actually. So that is definitely still up in the air. But Chessington is heavily believed to be the UK location, and we know that Intamin will be creating that land's headlining coaster, just based on some consulting sort of documents. And that's where the speculation that this could be a multi-dimensional coaster comes in. As I said, the US location for where this land is going, completely up in the air. Anyone's guess is as good as mine or anyone else's, really. So that is another one that we'll have to keep an eye on in the coming years. But certainly pretty interesting that this that Minecraft, you know, the literal world's most popular video game, just in terms of sales and everything, is finally getting a theme park area. So that's certainly pretty neat. But that'll do it for the news. If any of you have thoughts on that, you can put it down in the chat. The SBF visas are everywhere. Yes, I certainly would agree. Although I've only ridden 2 of them, but yeah, they certainly are popping up just in so many different places, and they will continue to. So it's a very respectable model. So I'll go into first Q&A. So any questions you have, but specifically if you have questions about IAAPA Expo, whether it's just relating to the event itself or my experience going there. Now would be the time to ask about those things specifically, but you can ask questions outside of that. That's fine as well. That I just want to kind of keep that as the main topic. Just going back through the chat before I get to that, though. You'll be off of here at 11:30 p.m. I don't think this will be too long of a stream, so you actually might be okay. I don't know that my stream's gonna even last till then, so we'll see. But good to know. Good to have you here, Michael, as well. Jay from Insane Coaster Junkie in the chat. Currently buried in nearly 3 feet of snow, but hanging in there. Yeah, well, in California we definitely don't have that, so I'm of things I'm thankful for. It would certainly be that. But hope you're having an okay time bundled up in there. And then Frontier Coasters in the chat. Hello. Rest in peace to the Sky Ride and the King. Long live the King. Might be the right move, the Minecraft movie. I don't know what to make of that whole film. I don't think it's going to be very good. I'm not someone as crazy as it sounds. Like, I mean, I've played Minecraft because almost everyone has, but I haven't, I never played it that much. So, I'm not as attached to it. But even with that being said, the film does not look great. So, that being said, I think the theme park area makes a ton of sense. So, looking forward to seeing what that looks like. Coaster Joe in the chat, hello. But like I said, any questions you have about either anything, and if you have anything related to IAAPA, now would be the time to ask. As coaster enthusiasts, we yearn for the Aero Mines. That's true. Okay, Jay comes up with a good question. From a journalistic perspective, what was it like talking to different parks / manufacturers, and which one was my favorite? So, thing is, even though, like, you know, I report on what was going on and whatnot, I actually didn't really talk to that many people from, like, the perspective, like, trying to get information about what they were doing. I was more so talking to people to, you know, make connections, just talk about, like, you know, what they do for the specific company, and then also kind of introduce myself, things like that. Because I was more looking for connections in that sense. I will say that Vekoma was super nice. I was able to talk to their marketing head and then their CEO, actually. Although I unknowingly talked to the CEO when I first talked to her, but and actually, if you saw the pictures on Instagram of me by the train, that was actually taken by her. So shout out to Anne from Vekoma there. But Vekoma, they were super nice. I also talked to director of sales from ProSlide. I talked to a lot of people throughout the event, so it's kind of hard to keep track of everybody. But just in terms of booths that I liked, Vekoma, but that, like, it was a very kind of open booth too, just very large. And then of course they had the best train there. Let's see, Premier Rides, of course, they showed the train as well, and I talked to some people from there. So that was another one. RMC had a really cool booth, but wow, was it always busy. So I was not really able to talk to anybody over there. But RMC did have a pretty cool booth. It was like 2 shipping containers, one underneath and one on top of each, on top of the other one. So that one was pretty cool looking. Imperial had like a super huge booth as well. Although I think that's usual. Theirs even has like the second floor, although the RMC one did as well this year. So, but I liked that. GCI had a nice booth. They had the different Millennium Flyers. Talked to some people there as well. And Cole, he's actually a friend of mine. He did the little cars displays there's these little car displays that were at the front of the booth that they came out super well, and those were really cool. So that was definitely a good one. So I'd probably say those were oh, and actually I'll shout out Pro Slide because they have so many cool models. I think both them and Whitewater West had some pretty cool booths, but Pro Slide, as far as like water slides go, I mean they have so many cool models, and it's very clear that they do a lot of hard work with those models, and they look awesome. So it was cool to see those in person as well. I did see. Oh, and I did talk to Theme Park Crazy as well. I think it was after the either no, it was before the Zamperla announcement. I think, or maybe it was afterwards. But that was cool finally talking to him in person. So I wasn't going as press, by the way. So that's the other thing I should mention. I was going as a student, so I was not like a press badge sort of situation. Yes, I did see Chinese manufacturers. So actually, there was a lot, not even just within the amusement park sphere, but you got to remember that IAAPA is like a they have arcades, they have inflatables, they have food vendors, animatronics companies, like different service companies as well for like electronic systems and web systems and other things. So there was actually a lot. But as for like the coaster manufacturers, Jinma Rides was there. There's also Noble Rides booth, which is like their subsidiary. Brogent Technologies, I forget what country they're based in, was there as well. I did visit that booth. That's another booth that had actually a ton of cool models. Jinma Rides booth and Noble Rides, I kind of saw those from a distance. I don't believe I went into either of them. Although I did see just from a distance some interesting models there as well. But yeah, so those are the ones I can remember seeing as far as like manufacturers go. So I think those would be the ones. But there were a lot of just different companies and different displays. So that it was definitely sensory overload at points. Going to the more general question, my number one bucket list coaster. If you want to go so in North America, my number one bucket list is probably still Air Force One. So I'm gonna go with that. And then in general in the world, I think I still have to go for Ride to Happiness at Plopsaland Japan. Like in general, it is my number one bucket list coaster. Edgenica / Dynaconda both would be right up there as well. But I've ridden X2, and so I kind of know what to expect from that. I have never ridden a Mach Extreme spinner, so Ride to Happiness would be like just a completely different beast from anything I've ridden. So hopefully that answers that. Good to see you in the chat, Beyond the Thrills. Yeah, school started a while back. I am still doing... I'm still in my marketing position at Wild Water Adventure Park. But because it's off season, I'm there less days in general. I was on a hiatus for like a little bit, but I am still there currently. So, but I'm doing both now. And I was last semester when I was doing it as an internship. I got promoted over as a supervisor over the summer. So, yeah, I'm aware that Great Adventures, Harley Quinn's Crazy Train, partially derailed. I saw a comment that the lyrics from the song like going off the rails on a crazy train like actually happened. So that's certainly something. But yeah, so like I said, if you have any questions related to IAAPA, I'll probably also get into a few notes that I have, or anything just in general, you can ask now. And then I'll have like a sort of discussion slash Q&A segment for the parks I revisited. Then we'll do Guess the Coaster, and then I'll have another one of those segments. Yeah, so it was a minor derailment. No one got hurt. Should mention that. Fortunately, I think it was as it was coming back into the station. There's if you go to a Journal Nation Discord, they were discussing it, and there was multiple pictures of it. So yeah, that was something that happened earlier today. Pretty crazy situation. Also, I'll see you later, Coaster Joe, but thank you for checking out the stream. Welcome to the stream, Awesome Coasters. Yeah, TMNT Shellraiser, they recently put it as SPNO on RCDB. It's been like standing but not operating for a while. Yes, Jason from Coasters and Things, we talked for a little bit at IAAPA. I forget if it was, I think it was Tuesday. I think it was the first day. May have been Wednesday, but I'd like to say it was Tuesday. But it was one of the first 2 days. We just ran into each other near the SPF Visa credit. So I remember that. That was cool. It was really cool, actually, just to talk to a lot of people in general that I have interacted with on the internet, and finally was able to meet in person. Like, just as far as like coaster time guests that I was able to meet who I hadn't met before. You had Jason from Coasters and Things. You had Peter from Theme Park Crazy, who I already mentioned, who I got to talk to. Marina, who used to be on who was on the, I think, the Talkin' Trimless episode. I like to say it was one of them. I met with her over there. Zach from Theme Park Crazy, not Theme Park Crazy, Theme Park Media, as well. So, and also Talking Trimless. So, yeah. Oh, and Hunter from Theme Park Hunting. So yeah, that was all really cool. Other people as well, but that was definitely, it felt like the whole world was there in the best way. So that was really cool. But yeah, what did I think of the seats of Hershey's new SNS seats for the Scream and Swing? I think it was well decorated. I wasn't aware that they were doing the thing where each side of each gondola, and they're gonna have 4 different flavors, are like I wasn't aware until they unveiled that was the way they were gonna do it. So I thought that looked pretty cool, and it was just kind of a fun idea. They actually, funnily enough, also on the day of the announcement, and after the announcement and the days following the announcement, they put a bunch of Twizzlers on the seats of the gondola, and I got a few handfuls of them, I'll admit. So I thought they looked pretty good. I wasn't there for the whole announcement for that one, but I did see it multiple times as I walked the floor. So that was certainly cool. Let's see. What was my favorite park on this trip from the ones you went to? I have never been to Busch Gardens. So I still have yet to have been there, despite having been to Florida twice, which is rather unfortunate. But for this specific trip, the parks I went to were the 2 Florida fun spots, SeaWorld Orlando, and then all the Disney World parks. I've already done Universal. I did it the last time I went. So I already did the 2 Universal parks previously, so I didn't revisit those, unfortunately. But I've already been, so that's the good thing. I did actually end up at City Walk at one point, but not at the parks themselves. But my favorite, I would think, would have to be Epcot of the ones I did. But honestly, the Disney World parks are kind of tight, especially because I didn't have a full day at any single one of them. So I did a 3-day park hopper each day sort of deal. So, but Epcot was just a really cool one from the vibes. and just how different it was from the other Disney parks. So, and also different compared to what I had experienced back at home, having visited Disneyland and California Adventure multiple times. So, that would probably have been my favorite. So, yeah, I mentioned Universal didn't do this trip. Well, technically City Walk, but that's about it. But I did, well, because I went to City Walk, I did see the Epic Universe preview center for the first time, which was cool. Um, yeah, Busch Gardens Tampa. I know they have the shuttle. One of these years, I will make it out there. It's just I think the hours aren't very long either. This like the times of years I've gone, so it just hasn't really worked. But cowfish, I have heard of that. Um, Not a huge sushi guy actually, somehow, but burgers do sound good, so that's good to know. But yeah, I did see it on the list of places, so it was in consideration there. Um, Non-coaster question. I don't really think I saw much. I mean, I was only in the Orlando area, which there were a few things that got damaged here and there, but I don't really think I noticed much Hurricane Milton effects. So I'm gonna say no to that, fortunately. But I know some. If I went to some other areas, you definitely would have seen it. So um, that's notable. But I think kind of going to IAAPA, since I have that listed as kind of like the sort of discussion segment, I ended up going on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. The event is starts on Tuesday and ends on Friday. Technically, it even begins on Monday if you do like all the edu stuff. I went to a few edu sessions, but starting on Tuesday. Um, but so the first day was a lot of I chased the first few announcements. Then I kind of more so explored the show floor, did a few edu sessions. Like I went to an edu session about the making of SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, which was interesting. And I actually now have a SeaWorld Abu Dhabi bag. Actually, this is probably a good opportunity. I guess I can show my IAAPA merch. Would you in the chat want to see that? Let me know if you want to see the IAAPA merch I was able to get. Because I can actually show that really quick. I didn't even think of that for some reason, but I have all the stuff like right with me, so that's actually pretty easy for me to do. Yeah, let's do that then. That's a good way to kind of, and I might be able to explain some things. So one of the cooler ones, I got one of these Vekoma brochures. It's like a booklet sort of deal. Actually super nice. Um, and it's, I would say, probably, uh, yeah, it's like 50 pages, so definitely pretty lengthy. It has a lot of their, like, more recent projects, like it has, I think, Big Bear Mountain and things of that, like Abyssus is here. Um, so it's a pretty cool booklet. Marketing head of Vekoma gave it to me. I don't know if they were just out and available. I'm sure if you asked, you could have gotten them, but so that was pretty nice gesture for her to get that for me. And then I did get a bunch of bags, one of which being this GCI bag here, GCI tote bag. Like it's like one of the things that like everyone says go get it, so I got it. Um, Beyond Thrills, I will see you later. Thank you for joining the stream for a bit. And I did love Guardians. I will definitely go into that in a bit. I definitely agree there. But we have that. I mentioned I went to SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, so I have this bag here as well. Or not, I didn't actually go to the park, but I went to the SeaWorld Abu Dhabi presentation. Um, don't know when I'm going to that park. Probably a long ways off. But they gave also like a little penguin pin, a little pencil I think as well that I think is like recyclable. So That was pretty neat. And then, oh, I can show my IAAPA badge. Here it is. Well, let's, if it would focus. Yeah, there it is. Went as a Fresno State student, like I said, so if you needed proof that I was not going as a press, this would be it, because I think the press badges look different. So that's the IAAPA badge. Alpenfury, I got a pin for that. Since I went to the press conference there, I was over kind of in the far corner. I've actually seen myself in a few of the reveal videos, but I was like in the far corner toward the front of the train since I wanted to see the front of it. Kind of in that area. Premier Rides lanyard sort of deal, so like you could switch it out but with the other DOF one, which was the standard one for the badge. I got a little crumpled in the traveling, but I got an Alpenfury as well media event little badge here, so that's kind of neat. And then I got a sticker from an animatronic company, a few of them actually. Talked to that guy, he was nice. And then I got a Premier Rides bag as well. I think I have a few other things as well, but I think I actually put them in different area. But that's most of the merch that I got. So I didn't go. There's some people that went like super heavy and super crazy on the merch. Since I was flying in, that didn't really make a ton of sense. So I limited myself like a lot. But still think I came away with a pretty decent haul. So that's just showing what I got over at IAAPA. So. Some pretty cool stuff. I think I really like specifically, I think the Alpenfury stuff's really cool. SeaWorld Abu Dhabi bag's nice. Kind of funny to have, admittedly, having never been. The Vekoma brochure booklet is really cool as well. And then I really like the GCI and Premier Rides bags. I think those are really sick. Just realized, yeah, I didn't get any RMC merch. Although those, like I said, that booth, there was a lot of people around there. I did check out the booth a little bit, but there were a lot of people over there. It seemed like every time I was there. So there you go. But let's see. So yeah, at first on my first day, kind of press conference chased. It's a really busy day, so a lot of the exhibitor booths, like there's business talks going on. So like if you're wanting to talk to people, it's like one of the worst days to go. But to counter that, that's the day where like all the excitement is. It's everyone's like first day there in terms of just the event happening that year. And it's just like exploring the show floor as well is definitely good to do. I know I had some friends who were doing a lot of the arcades that day. I did those like kind of on later days. But the arcade machines also were really cool because they have a lot of games and stuff that they are just trying out. So it's like the first, like they're like kind of trialing it and before they put it out there. And then I guess going that way. But did that, explored. There's like a lot of weird stuff on the show floor too. Like, you have, like, random animatronics as well. I don't know if it'll come up great on the picture. I should have loaded it up, but, like, you have stuff like this as well. There was, like, other trains. Gravity Group had the school dragon train. There were some really weird inflatables. The food. They have food samples. Dippin' Dots. I don't know if you like Dippin' Dots. I know they're expensive. But there was this new flavor that I think actually has already released, but I had never tried it before. It's called Cookie Monster. It's so good. I would highly recommend it if you see it at a park and you know you're gonna get Dippin' Dots anyways. I think it's a really good one to try. It's basically like blue colored Dippin' Dots with cookie and cookie dough bits. It's really good. So. That was really cool. Like I said, did some edge sessions. I think I mentioned a lot of the people I talked to as well. But and then, like I said, mess with the arcade machines. It was a blast, really, to experience for the first time. I think the only thing, there's a few things I'd probably like. I definitely want to revisit. There's a few things I'd plan a little differently for sure, but it was still super cool to do. What was the most surprising part of IAAPA? Um, I like people told me heading in it was going to be huge and like overwhelming, and yeah, it certainly was. I mean, it is bigger in scale than you could imagine. That certainly is one of the things that was really surprising. Um, and so yeah, that certainly was something of note. I also think, and maybe trying to think of how to word this, I did find it a little more difficult at certain points with certain exhibitors to find the time to talk to them, just because, like I said, booths are really busy. Business conversations take priority over anything else, and that's completely understandable. I mean, that's the reason why IAAPA Expo exists in the first place. Um, but that did make my job when I was like, or my not really job, but like I was wanting to talk to um as many as people as possible. So maybe I didn't make as many new connections in numbers that I would have initially wanted. But the ones I did make, I think, were very, very beneficial, and I still did get to talk to a lot of people. Um, so I would say, but on the potential learning experience side of things, I think it'd be that. And then also, I mean, I think even though it's 4 days, I could not do 4 straight days. So I think building in a break day would have been smart to do from the beginning. And I think having Wednesday have been the break day would have been the smartest, rather than doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. So, um, yeah, but no, it was still a super awesome event. Um, like I said, just how big the show floor is, how bustling it is, really. Just all the crazy mishmash of things you'll see. The arcade game selection being as huge as it was, I know that was a reason, like that people, kind of went, or were like one of the things people looked forward to the most. But like just seeing how huge that section was, and like how many games are over there, it's like, oh my gosh, wow, it is actually insane and crazy. Um, so yeah, also there's actually a lot of walk around characters like mascots as well. I was surprised to see that um, as well. So like you had the Angry Birds mascot, specifically Red was there. You had like the gummy bear mascot from the gummy bear song from like the late 2000s. They had like a machine, like an arcade machine there, and so they also had a character to promote it, which was really interesting. There's like the pretzel guy, Sonic the Hedgehog, because Sega was one of the big sponsors. I did end up using the rest lounge area a little bit, because they had like the, I think, green chill zone as well. So overall, super well organized event, just because it's like they have everything pretty much, it seems like. I mean, just in terms of all the different booths. But in addition, like a rest area or rest areas, um, and different things of that sort. So that was certainly good to see. As you'll enter college next year, you hope to finally go to IAAPA. I definitely recommend, for sure. If you're interested and want to talk to a few people at least, and are interested in a career, and also just want to see all the craziness of IAAPA. And also, I would definitely say set aside some free time as well to mess around with like the food and the arcades and stuff. I think that's one thing that going in, I just kind of didn't think I was gonna do that much of that, and I kind of wish I just had more of the idea of, okay, yeah, I'll do that on when it's super busy at the booths, or I just feel like it, basically. Um, I would definitely say factor that in there. Um, but yeah, no, I would definitely recommend. Hopefully, though, you might have at least a few people you know, so you can at least talk to them when you're over there, because I think that certainly helped me, having people that I already knew, that I could talk to over there, and also just people that like I had communicated with previously that we could finally meet in person. I think that was really, really good. Did I see the Buttons the bear? I don't think so. Not that at least I do not recall seeing Buttons the bear, so I'm gonna say no on that. Um, I will look. Oh, okay, I see. No, I did not see this mascot um, while I was there, so I unfortunately did not. But I think that'll do it for IAAPA. I think I went through several different aspects of it. If anyone has any questions later on related to it, then for sure go ahead and ask. But I'll move on to our next sort of segment, which is still going to be Q&A. And like I said, you can ask any type of question in general, but I just kind of have a topic underneath to kind of be a guiding sort of topic, basically. This is related to my revisits to SeaWorld Orlando and the Florida Fun Spots. So I had already been to SeaWorld Orlando actually 2 days on my last trip. And so when I came into Orlando, I actually took a little short trip in, only a few hours. Did I get any new coaster credits on this trip? I actually got 14. And I did hit 200 credits, which I'll talk about. I mean, if you've seen my Instagram, for those who follow, you probably know what my 200th coaster was, because I've certainly posted on there. But yeah, part of the reason I revisited SeaWorld Orlando and the Florida Fun Spots was to pick up some new credits. So I went to SeaWorld Orlando on Saturday night before IAAPA, like the week of before like the week of IAAPA. I was hoping in that visit to ride the 2 credits I did not have, being Kraken and Penguin Trek. I did ride Kraken. That was a very good floorless. Not my favorite. Medusa still is definitely the winner for me at Discovery Kingdom. But I would say Kraken is my second favorite. Super intense. Really like the vertical loops. The zero G roll's super whippy on it, and then that final corkscrew is a really good element as well. So Kraken, that was great to ride. Penguin Trek, however, ended up being down the entire time I was there, so that was kind of an L. Didn't end up riding that, unfortunately, but it's okay. I honestly, between the two, I would have rather missed Penguin Trek, so that was, and I was able to get that 200 credit number to work through another avenue, so that was okay. But rerode Mako as well a few times. Oh, that ride's so good. I could only move it up like one spot, but night rides on Mako again. Finally got a back row night ride. I didn't get that last time. Absolutely glorious. It's so good. Sense of speed, the airtime. It's just such a great coaster overall. Definitely one of my favorites, and still solidified in my overall top 20. But did that. Rode Manta again as well, which really impressed me. My first ride I ever got on it, which was also at night in the back row, and I also got another night back row ride this time around. It was still very good, but I think the wow factor wasn't quite there. I think I was just more so overly impressed with it. I still am surprised with how consistently intense it is for a flying coaster, but I don't know. I guess I just didn't quite hit as hard as last time in general, but it was still a very good flying coaster. Just like a smidge, more disappointed than when I originally wrote it, but it's still really, really good. So can't take too much away from that. Didn't end up doing the other coasters. just because I also was going to Fun Spot Orlando that night. So there's that. So to answer Michael's question, just in terms of going by park, so got a new credit at SeaWorld Orlando on Kraken, and then at Fun Spot Orlando, I had already been there. I'd already ridden White Lightning, but the time I went there last year, Freedom Flyer was down, and I just didn't bother doing their kiddie coaster, Sea Serpent. Before I get to that, though, I'll answer Thomas Fry's question. Yes, I saw plenty of other YouTubers at IAAPA Expo. And then specifically ones I talked to Theme Park Crazy, Zach from Theme Park Media, Drew from Coaster Scoop actually was also there, and I was able to talk to him. Actually, also met up with him at Disney World. Let's see who else. Jameer from Park Visions I talked to. Hunter from Theme Park Hunting as well. Jason from Coasters and Things. I guess technically she's not a YouTuber, but Marina, who's been a previous guest on here. So, and then like I saw a bunch of other people as well, some of which I wanted to talk to. Like I did see Cole from Park Pros at points. But mostly like during the announcements, and so didn't want to bother anyone when they were busy. But I saw him. Colin from Collywood Studios also saw him, but wasn't able to talk with him, unfortunately. And I'm trying to think. There's probably others like that I'm forgetting. Like I said, there's a lot of people there. And there's a lot of like other connections I talked to who aren't necessarily YouTubers as well. So it's kind of hard to keep everyone in line. But that's at least the ones I can remember off the top of my head right now. So definitely did see and talk to a pretty good amount of YouTubers there. Was Mindblower as rough as they say? I will get to Mindblower in a second. Well, yes, Theme Park Horizons. Yeah, I did see him and talk to him quite a bit throughout the trip. We went to Disney World, and same can be said with Callie from Callie the Coaster Enthusiast. So they definitely are part of that. Absolutely should get mentioned there. But let's see. Yeah, White Lightning. It was so much fun to get a re-ride. 39 rides in a span of 3 hours. I only just did 4 and just got some other rides in on the others and called it good because I was only there for like probably like an hour. Honestly, hour and a half, something like that. But I mean, if I wanted to just marathon it, I definitely could have. And it is such a fun ride. Definitely grew on me more compared to my earlier rides, where I still liked it, but I think it's a lot punchier of a ride, just with the airtime strength and overall intensity than I initially gave it credit for. But I got to ride Freedom Flyer for the first time. Actually, pretty good Vekoma family suspended coaster. Certainly, Dragon Flyer is a better coaster overall, but this is still a pretty good one. I like the drop. It's pretty zippy, the first drop. It has 2 pretty nice helixes. The first one has some like kind of slight leg tingling intensity. And then the second one and the final helix is actually surprisingly intense. So I will definitely give Freedom Flyer some credit there. And that was like in a random middle row because I was told I probably should have rode in the back row, but I was just trying to ride it as quick as possible. And that was what was going to get me on the next cycle. And then the kiddie coaster was one of the weaker ENF milers I've ever ridden, so I don't really need to go into too much into that one. I did the Sky Coaster at the Orlando Fun Spot last year. I did not do it this year, but yes, I have done it. It is absolutely insane. I still have yet to do the Kissimmee one, which is taller, I know, but yeah, those sky coasters are no joke. I would definitely recommend doing one or the other at some point. Although in my case, my ride was paid for by the event I went to, so I kind of went for free, if that makes sense. But just from the experience standpoint, I definitely think it's really cool. So either one I've heard is absolutely insane. So um, definitely worth doing. Um, but yeah, that was Fun Spot Orlando. As for Kissimmee, and actually to kind of go back to Orlando, um, I've always been of the opinion and last time, and definitely this is even spread this time. I also did the go-karts at Orlando. Conquest and Commander were the ones I did. I'd done Conquest before. That's my favorite one there. And then Commander was new, so that was cool to do. Go-karts are also worth doing at the fun spots, for sure. I would recommend. But I like Orlando, just the vibes of it in it a lot better than Kissimmee. I don't know. Kissimmee, I just definitely don't vibe with as much. It doesn't feel as well presented, I guess I'll say, is probably a nice way to put it. Um, but the Skyhawk, is that the is that the lying down ride thing? Yeah, I have done Skyhawk at Fun Spot Orlando. I did it last year. That was an interesting experience. Didn't do it again. I just found the seating position a little uncomfortable, but it was at least cool to do last year, but I didn't do that this year. Um, but anyways, as for Fun Spot Kissimmee, revisited. I also got 2 new credits there because I had already ridden Mindblower and Hurricane. I did not rewrite Hurricane this time around. But I rode Galaxy Spin, which has of the, I think, 3 Zamperla Twister coasters I've ridden, it definitely is the craziest in terms of spinning. It's actually my favorite for that reason. It was just me on the car, and I just sat on off to one side, and yeah, that thing was spinning like crazy. So that was a ton of fun. And then I did the kiddie coaster, which I also didn't do, which actually was the sketchiest coaster experience I've ever had on any coaster. Basically, when I rode it, I loaded into the back row, got on it, went through the ride, and then toward the end, I realized that the train didn't make it all the way back to where it was originally set in the station when it started. And then I looked to the side where I was supposed to get out. There's only about half of the room I had to possibly step out. Only a little over half of it was the platform. The rest was basically just plummeting to the ground. And I realized the back car was still at an angle because the hill was so close. And I thought the operator was gonna just somehow get it back into the position, but instead I just had to get off at that weird like decline, which was really bizarre. I've never had that happen. And that was just, he just told me to watch my step. I'm like, okay. That was certainly a memorable experience. Not in the best way though. But that just kind of goes into like the whole Kissimmee vibes. I don't know. I'm not as big of a fan. That and my fault, but I got T-boned on the Chaos track because I'd never done it before, and I tried to take the really steep turn on the highest level with a lot of speed and stalled out and got T-boned. So that wasn't fun either. But we asked about Mindblower earlier, right? In terms of if it was as rough as they say. Now, last year when I rode it right after, not when they just put the steel track on it, but they had it go down, I think, for a few weeks to, I think, fix the transitions or just do some refurb on it. And I rode it like a few days after it reopened. And I did, And it was actually, I mean, the wooden parts were ridiculously rough, but the transitions were actually fine. Like the complaints of those, it wasn't that bad when I rode last year. Now, when I rode this year, for one, the wooden sections got even worse. And then the transitions are just back to being like horrible from when you go from wood to steel. I mean, the one from the, I think it's the drop into the inversion or something like that. That one's horrible. It's like insanely bad. It is so ridiculously rough. Now the layout's still great, and I love the forces, and I can look past the ride's roughness at least a little bit. But I had to drop it like a decent amount of spots because I'm like, okay, yeah, this is like just really, really rough. Like it's the roughest wooden coaster I've ever ridden, that's for sure. So definitely needs to get more steel retracking done, I think, at this point. Because that layout is awesome. Like it's really sick. I truly do love that, but hold on, let me. Sorry, my brother was asking if I was hungry. Um, to which I'll eat after this stream ends. But yeah, Mind Blower, it is very, very rough. I don't think it's completely intolerable, but I only rode it twice, and that was enough. I will say though, I rode it front and back, and I didn't notice that big of a difference for whatever that's worth. But maybe that's because it's already just so horrifically rough in the front that the back doesn't feel noticeably worse. I'm not really sure, honestly. You haven't been to the Florida? Oh, haven't been to Florida yet in general, and haven't been dying to go. Yeah, it's a blast. I mean, you don't need me to recommend it, so it's certainly a blast. So I didn't really pay attention much to the construction or parts, but actually, funnily enough, the day I went to Fun Spot Orlando, the teacups that from Funplex had just opened that day. And I did see them. I don't think I saw anyone ride them, but I saw they were there, and like you could ride it if you wanted to. I didn't do it, but which makes it the second ride I've been to at its opening and have not ridden this year, which is kind of funny. I believe the first one was the Ferris wheel at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, because that opened the day I went. But anyways, yeah, that was open. Didn't notice too much construction on other things besides that, but that was there, which was interesting. Like I think Mind Blower, like I think it's still a great ride. It's just horrifically rough. If you're saying that like it's not that bad in roughness, I mean maybe it is. You are potentially biased because it's your home park. So yeah, so that could be that. But at least for me, based on what I've ridden, it's pretty bad in terms of the roughness. Like just in terms of roughness, the overall ride's still great, still in like my top 60. Out of over 200 coasters. I did ride the go-karts. I rode both the go-karts at Kissimmee. I forget. Oh wait, did I get it mixed up? Because sorry, Chaos and Vortex. I think the one I got T-boned I may have gotten mixed up. The craziest one at Kissimmee is the one I got T-boned on. But yeah, I did the two at Kissimmee. I flip-flop between the names. I can't remember which one's which. And then I did Commander and Conquest at Orlando, and I think I've done now all the tracks at Orlando, I'd like to say. Except actually no, I think the least significant one I still haven't done. But I think I've done all the ones at Orlando. Besides whatever the smallest one is. Okay, Vortex is yeah, then yeah, I think it's Vortex is the one I'm talking about. But I did do both over there. But yeah, I did do the go-karts on this trip, and I did it last trip as well, at Orlando. I had never done the Kissimmee ones until this trip, but yeah, so that is the segment for SeaWorld and the Florida Fun Spots. Before we get into our next one, which is the Disney World one, I figure we'll take a break by doing some Guess the Coaster, Guess the Coaster game. And actually, I can pull up the deal here. And, oh wait, this is the wrong slide. Here we go, there's the Guess the Coaster game. So if you've never played Guess the Coaster, pretty much how it works is I will come up with a roller coaster using RCDB that you will try to guess. You can ask yes or no questions in the chat about the coaster to try to guess it, and so you have unlimited attempts to try to do it. First person to guess the coaster gets given a point, and the winner will be decided by who gets the most coasters. You pretty much know the drill from there. So that's Guess the Coaster. I will get my first one, and we will get started. We'll be going, since this stream I don't have too many segments, we'll be going for the, I think we'll do 8 rounds. It will be the plan. But I do have my first coaster, so guess away. And then just get through the final comments here. You ride Mind Blower more than 3 times every time you go. I mean, I could have probably ridden it more times. I was just, after I got T-boned on the go-kart, I was like, yeah, I'm going to chill out a bit. Because I kind of hurt, bruised my knee already. So that was not ideal. Yeah, for driving the Fun Spot Kissimmee go-karts is just a bit crazier than driving on I-4. Well, I've never done that, so I can't speak on that. This coaster is not blue. No, so not blue. It is not Bisbee's. It is not in the US. It is not RMC, but it is in Europe. It's not, and so it's obviously not in Japan for that reason, and it is not an Intamin. So far we have a European coaster. It is not a B&M either. Is there an animal in the name? That's a good question. I might need to translate something real quick. Make sure that this word isn't for an animal. I don't think it is. I'm gonna say it's not, but not 100% on that. I don't think I don't think this is an animal. Certainly in English, it's not. It is not Nordic. It is not a Gerstlauer. It's not an Arrow. It is not Orange. It's not in Germany. It is not in Sweden. It is not Voltron. It is not Belgium. It is not in Norway. It is not a dog fart coaster, and it is not in the UK. So far we basically still have that it's just a European coaster with pretty much no other actual hints. It is not in the Benelux. The name does have at least more than 5 letters, so I can tell you that. It is not in the Netherlands, it is not Hyperia, but it is in Poland. Welcome to the chat, Coaster Evan. It is not in Spain, it is not a wooden coaster. So not in Spain, not a wooden coaster. So we have it that it's a steel coaster basically. It is not Energylandia. It is not a Mach. It is not Hyperion. It is not Zadra. It is not from Gerstlauer. It is not Abyssus, but it is from Vekoma. So far we have a Vekoma coaster in Poland that is not at Energylandia. So probably should be a pretty quick one here. Not Hyperion. And Jay got it first on my screen. It is indeed Elect Coaster at Legendia is the correct answer there. So Jay gets a point. Congratulations. And we'll go on to our next coaster that I'll try to find here real quick. Oh, that was fast. All right, I do have my next coaster. Guess away. It is in the US. You just realized you were a minute behind. Oh boy, that's tough. At least you figured it out. But it is in the US. Coaster is not yellow. It is not an Intamin. It's not. It's not wooden coaster or any sort of wooden coaster. And it's not in Turkey, so it is steel coaster. It is not an RMC, not in Europe, not a B&M, not Bisbee Spiral Airship. It technically is on the East Coast. I think this is considered East Coast state. It is under 100 feet tall. It is east of the Mississippi River, but it is not an RMC. So we do have a East Coast state U.S. steel coaster. It is not green. It is in Pennsylvania, so we do have a Pennsylvania steel coaster under 100 feet tall. So it is not Hydrus. It is not at a chain park. So not at a chain park. It is a family coaster, or well, I would say it falls in line under the family coaster category. It is not Kennywood, but it is at Hershey Park. It is not Merlin's Mayhem, not Skyrocket, not Wild Mouse, Idlewild, or Wild Mouse of any sort. It's not Steel Dragon, it's not Leap the Dips, not Kingdom Coaster, not Impulse, not Wild Mouse. It's not Super Duper Looper. But we do have a coaster at Hershey Park. It is not Sky Rush. It is not Coco Cruiser. It is not Laugh Track. Guess we're just going down the Hershey Park list, aren't we? Not Candemonium, not Trailblazer, not Wild Mouse. None of those. Gotta keep guessing. So once again, steel coaster under 100 feet at Hershey Park. Not Wildcat's Revenge, not Comet. Frontier Coaster's got it. It is Roller Soaker, the defunct set point swing water coaster thing, whatever it is. Whatever it is, basically. But yes, it is Roller Soaker at Hershey Park. Frontier Coasters will get the point there. And I will move on to the next coaster. So that was round 2 of 8, so still 6 more rounds, certainly anyone's game. I do have my next coaster, guess away. It is in the United States, so we have another US coaster. Roller Soaker was in the boardwalk section, or what ended up becoming the boardwalk section somewhere. I don't know exactly where. Yeah, this coaster is brown. This is a brown coaster, and it is east of the Mississippi River. So we have a brown coaster east of the Mississippi River. So by that, cannot be on the West Coast. It is not a B&M. It is wooden. Yep, we have a brown wooden coaster east of the Mississippi River. Not in Texas, not in California, not an RMC, not Wildfire. Already did say it was a wooden coaster, but it is in Ohio. So we do have a brown wooden coaster in Ohio, not from GCI, not Ravine Flyer 2. As I said, not in Pennsylvania, it's in Ohio. Not Roar. Charged on PC, got it just barely over J. It's really tight. But Beast is the correct answer, so Charged on PC is on the board. Probably about one of the most recognizable coasters we're going to get on here. So that is correct. And we'll move on to our next one. Now it's actually taking a little bit. Okay. Okay, taking a little while. All right, we do have our next coaster. Guess away. Is not. I don't think there's a wooden coaster in Turkey, so, but it's not a coaster in Turkey, and it is not wooden. So we have a steel coaster. Well, it is Uh, It's not in the U.S., so it's not in the United States. It is not white, but it is a B&M coaster. So far we have, if you live in the United States, an international B&M coaster. Is the in the name? I don't believe so. I'm gonna say no on that. Um, it is in Canada. So far we have a Canadian B&M coaster. It is not Leviathan. It is not Goliath. So by it being in Canada, it's not going to be in Asia or Spain. It is not Yukon Striker. It is not Vampire, but Jay got it first. Very tight again, but he got it first from my end. It is Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. So that is going to be the correct answer. That is our halfway point into Guess the Coaster. And I will be moving on to find our next one. Alrighty, we do have our next coaster. Guess away. I will say in general, this has been a more generous run in terms of the rides we have gotten up to this point. This coaster is not green, however, it is in the US. And I don't believe this coaster was ever green, I'd like to say. If I can pull it up. Pretty sure it never was. Yeah, doesn't look like it. So, but it is in the US. It is not on the East Coast, but it is east of the Mississippi River. It is not an RMC, not a B&M, not launched, not in California, not Georgia Scorcher, not in Vertigo, not in Florida. Relocated, yes, it certainly would be a relocated coaster. So we do have a relocated U.S. coaster. Current location is the U.S., by the way, so wanted to mention that. Intamin, no, not in Michigan, not in Texas, but it is in Indiana. It's not a family coaster, not under 100 feet. It's not Green Lantern, not Illinois, not a Beach Bend, not Hades 360, and it is not a wooden coaster. And Frontier Coasters got it. All-American Triple Loop is the correct answer, so we will give that to Frontier Coasters. And that is correct, so there we go. So that was round 5. Still anyone's game, but Jay and Frontier Coasters are in the lead. If the game were to end at this point, Frontier Coasters would win based on having the most recent point. But anyways, I do have the next coaster. Guess away. Is this coaster red? Yes, this is a red coaster. It is in the U.S. So far we have red U.S. coaster. So by that logic, it is not an RMC, it's not Europe. It is not wooden either, so we do have a steel coaster. It is East Coast, so we do have a red U.S. steel coaster. Not from Intamin, but it is built by a European manufacturer. Not Maverick, not Redfire, not Intimidator or Thunder Striker. Not Millennium Force, not Storm Runner, but it is a B&M coaster. So, it is not American themed. So, not an American themed B&M red coaster. Does include inversions, not Thunder Striker. It is not Shikra. It is not Diamondback, not X-Flight, not Vortex, and not Georgia Scorcher. Not Firehawk. So far we have red B&M coaster on the East Coast, not Superman Ultimate Flight like any of them. Not a Superman of any sort. So we will see who will get this one. It is at a chain park. So it is at a chain park. Not Goliath, not Ride of Steel. It is not over 150 feet. It is not in the Six Flags Legacy or current chain. So not in the Six Flags Legacy parks and not in the new Six Flags chain either. Not Vortex, not Patriot. Not Boomerang. So, once again, B&M Steel Coaster. Well, I mean, obviously, if it's a B&M, it's a Steel Coaster. Red B&M Coaster on the East Coast at a chain park. So that is what we have. No one has guessed it yet. Seem to have stumped the chat. Well, alright, charged on PC, I'll give it. It is dual. I would have taken either of the individual coasters or the coaster name, but this will work. It is. I got Dragon Challenge. I think once we went down the red, I would have accepted like Chinese Fireball or Fire, but this is good enough. Charged on PC does get a point. Notching everyone on the scoreboard at 2. With Charged on PC with our most recent point. As we head into round 7. So there we go. Let's see. Multiple different ways that could have went. Yeah, defunct coasters, those are allowed. So those, you can watch out for those. Well, we did have Roller Soaker earlier, too. So it wasn't like this was the first one of the game. We do have our next coaster, so guess away. It is not a wooden coaster, not in Turkey, but it is in the US. I don't know what even is wooden coaster in Turkey. Is that like actually real? Oh wow, yeah, there is an actual wooden coaster in Turkey. Is a weird wacky worm. That is not the coaster. It's just I didn't know that existed. That's interesting. I don't think I'll ever, even if I magically get that coaster, I don't think I'd actually do that one on here. Well, maybe now I would, but is it an RMC? No. It is, yep, from a European manufacturer. So far we have a US coaster made by a European manufacturer. Not an Intamin, not on the East Coast. Gotta pull up the map for this one. I'd like to say it is west of the Mississippi River, but I need to 100% confirm that. Yes, it is. Alright, so we do have a coaster that is west of the Mississippi River. Turkey is a big country, so they have a decent bit of coasters. Have I ridden it? No, I've not ridden this coaster. It is not a Gerstlauer, not a B&M, not an Intamin, not in California, not in Missouri. It is east of Utah, yes. Not in Minnesota, not in Texas, not Copperhead Strike, not Thunderbird. But it is from Vekoma, and it is at a chain park. So we do have a Vekoma coaster at a chain park west of the Mississippi, but east of Utah. Not Patriot, not Time Traveler, not in Texas, not in Iowa. But it is at a Six Flags park, yes. Is it clone or cloned? It is cloned. Probably not the most well-known clone, though. Not Ninja, but it is at Oklahoma, which does mean it is in Frontier City. So Vekoma coaster at Frontier City. Probably can figure it out pretty quick. It is not Mind Eraser, not Boomerang at St. Louis, not Mind Bender. It is not Silver Bullet, not Wildcat, not Diamondback. And Charged on PC was the first to get it for me, but Frontier Coasters and Jay were super close. It is Steel Lasso, the Vekoma Suspended Family Coaster. Allegedly, it's the clone of the Jimmy Neutron coaster at, what is it? Yeah, Movie Park Germany. So, there you go. So, Charged on PC is on the board of third point. Everyone can keep playing, but this is basically a battle. But in terms of actually winning, if the score stays the same, Charged on PC will win. If Jay or Frontier Coasters get the next point, one of them will win. But like I said, everyone can keep playing as we head into the final round. And let's see. Alrighty. We have our next coaster. Guess away. It is not Bob Banan at Tivoli. It's not at Tivoli Gardens for that matter. This coaster is not purple. So not a purple coaster, but it is in the US. And it is not from a European manufacturer. So not a European manufacturer, but it is in the US. Not from RMC. So we have a US coaster that's not from a European manufacturer. It is not from Intamin, because Intamin is a European manufacturer. Not from Premier Rides, not from an Asian manufacturer, so, I mean, realistically, that'd probably be like Togo. Not much else. East of Arkansas, yes, it is east of Arkansas. It is not a GCI. It is east of the Mississippi. It is over 50 miles per hour. It is an aero coaster. Not a CCI, not a PTC. Sorry, I got called for again. Let's see. CCI, PTC, no. Not Hot Wheels, not ENF Miler, not Viper, not Vortex. So just a recap, we have an aero coaster east of the Mississippi and also east of Arkansas. Not Mine Train, it's not Dahlonega Mine Train at Six Flags Over Georgia. It is over 100 feet tall. It does have more than 3 inversions. Canyon Blaster at Great Escape. It's not Lightning Run, not Loch Ness. But Civilian Satellite got it. It is Great American Scream Machine. The original revolutionary coaster. In Great American Scream Machine. Not really, but Civilian Satellite does get on the board. With that being said, that does make Charged on PC the winner. So, I don't have the win. I need to get the winner thing here in the banner column. I forgot to do that pre-stream, it looks like. But here we go. Charged on PC. Congratulations on winning Guess the Coaster. You are the winner of this week, or this episode, I should say, because that would imply this is a weekly stream, which it is not. But congratulations on winning Guess the Coaster. Hope you all had a fun time with the segment. And then we'll move on to our final discussion and then final Q&A. But first, we will do any Q&A. Like, you can once again ask any questions just related to anything in general, but this is mostly going to be guided towards my first ever Walt Disney World visit. So just to kind of explain how it was, I did all 4 parks over the course of 3 days through Park Hopper. First day was Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. Second day was Epcot and Magic Kingdom. And the third day was Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. So Animal Kingdom's actually the one I was at the least. a little unfortunate. I completely didn't do like any of the animal stuff, which was not intended to be the case, but that just ended up being what happened. So I didn't do the Kilimanjaro safari, or go into the Africa section at all, which is kind of crazy. That's like such a huge portion of the park, and I definitely would like to in the future. It just came like, you know, when you have limited time, there's certain sacrifices you make, and that was the sacrifice that was made in that case. But just to, I'll kind of go through the rides I didn't do actually, just to avoid questions on those. So let me get the list I had. So the major Disney World rides I did not do. In general, a lot of the rides that I have over at Disneyland that are very similar to what Disney World has, most of those I didn't do. There's a few exceptions. But major rides I didn't do. I did not do Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And because it was gonna take away, the days I went to Magic Kingdom, I went to Epcot, so it was gonna take away from getting my Guardians rides. I did not do Test Track because it was under refurb. As I mentioned, didn't do Kilimanjaro Safaris. Also didn't do Cali River Rapids. And then Frozen Ever After. I didn't do. Those are probably the most major attractions I didn't do. Minus, like I said, there's some ones that have rides we have at Disneyland that I didn't do. Like I didn't do Rise of the Resistance because we have that at Disneyland. I wanted to, but just didn't have the time. But also didn't do Smuggler's Run for that reason. But I did do Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway for the first time, even though we have that at Disneyland. I hadn't been there since they added that. And then, like, I did a few other rides that we have, like Toy Story Midway Mania. I did do Magic Kingdom's Pirates and Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion, and the Little Mermaid of all things also ride. Journey Under the Sea, I think is what it's called. But yeah, any questions related to Disney World, and then I can kind of go from there. Funnily enough, I went all the visits I had were before the Muppets announcement, but specifically Hollywood Studios was the last park I went to. I went there the night before the Muppets news. So I was a little upset over that because I only rode Rock and Roller Coaster twice on the first day I went, and did single rider line. And I was like, well, had I known that, I would have actually probably prioritized getting a front row ride on Rock and Roller Coaster. But oh well. I did do Muppet Vision 3D just because that was rumored to go out, just to experience it, even though I'm not like super attached to the Muppets or anything, just to experience it. So I at least experienced both those things, so that's the good news there. How was navigating Lightning Lane and Genie Plus and whatnot? I actually did not use either of those. No Lightning Lane, no Genie Plus. Definitely those, like Lightning Lane specifically, will impact your day regardless, just because that increases the queue times quite a bit. But overall, it was fine for the most part, in terms of getting through the stuff I wanted to, but I did not use any of that. Actually, funny thing, I think I'll explain this just to avoid confusion when I talk about that I got 3 rides on Guardians Cosmic Rewind. The first day I went to Epcot, I ended up getting 2 rides on Guardians because of a scanning error. So essentially, a basic way of explaining it is when I initially scanned to ride Guardians, I guess the thing went blue instead of green, and they just let me through anyways. And then I found out later that, oh yeah, I still had my Guardians ride, so because they didn't like override it or anything. So I ended up being able to ride it twice that one day because of that, which was kind of funny. And then the other ride came on the second day I was at Epcot. So I was able to get 3 rides in Guardians, but wanted to explain that was the reason, which is definitely very bizarre. Did I experience Cars Land? Well, it's at DCA. I have certainly experienced Cars Land on multiple occasions, and it's awesome. But yeah, it is at Disney California Adventure. I did see, like, it's not open anymore, but they did have the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy. It's like right behind Rock and Roller Coaster. I did at least see the remnants of it from the queue line, the single rider ramp, but no Cars Land at Disney World, unfortunately. So can't speak on it in relation to what I did this trip. I did not go to Tom Sawyer's Island. We have it at Disneyland. I don't know how theirs is different. I know that's gonna go away, but I'm kind of like in terms of going out of my way to do that. So yeah, I realize I probably missed out on that one. Thoughts on Magic Kingdom? I mean, yes, it's not as good as Disneyland. Obviously, let's just get that out of the way. But I mean, you can just look at the two, and it's obvious. But I still did have a really good time over there. I think a lot of people unnecessarily bash on it. Like, I mean, it does have the best capacity of any of the parks there. So, like, that's one thing that's nice. So, although it does get the most crowds, but theoretically, just from the number of rides, it does have best capacity. So, that's nice. I really like their coaster lineup. I think that's great. Haunted Mansion was cool to do over there. They do have a better between the two. Theirs is just a little longer than ours, so I prefer Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion. Obviously, a few inferior rides. Pirates is nowhere near as good as ours. Big Thunder has a better layout than ours because of the Tricks Track section. But until the thematics are on the level of ours, I will continue to say that Disneyland's Big Thunder is better than Magic Kingdom's. And I mean, the versions of Space Mountain are completely different rides. But I would say that Disneyland, I prefer Disneyland Space Mountain just because of the onboard soundtrack and the vibes. I just, that ride, I think the way it does that is kind of masterful and almost a masterpiece. But this Space Mountain is super sick as well. So, overall, I really enjoyed it. And I did some of the lesser, like, done things. Like, I did do the People Mover, which was cool. The Carousel of Progress. That was certainly really neat, and I'd actually say, like, if you like historical attractions, that's definitely a big one you need to do when you're over there. That isn't talked about probably enough. And so I really enjoyed just finally experiencing Magic Kingdom. Thought it was really fun. And I overall thought they had a pretty good ride collection. Oh yeah, their Buzz Lightyear sucks, but I mean, I knew that going in because they had the Mountain Cuds. It's just more miserable than I thought. Not even like I liked ours that much, but oh my god, I have a newfound appreciation for it after experiencing their Buzz Lightyear. That is brutal. Let's see. What restaurants did I experience at Disney? So at Animal Kingdom, I did. Pardon if my pronunciation is not great on this. Satuli's, I believe that's the main Pandora restaurant. Had a beef rice bowl dish with with the boba poppers. That was pretty nice. That was pretty good. Hollywood Studios, I had Woody's lunchbox. That was like what everyone told me to get. So I'm like, all right. And I've already had the Ronto Roasters at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, which I really like. So I'm like, all right, it's probably the thing I should try when I'm here. Got the like main barbecue sandwich sort of deal, and that was pretty darn good. Unfortunately, the seating setup is is in brutal shape right now because I think they're like redoing the interior or something. So like you're just stuck with the outdoor area, and I had to eat on a standing table, but at least I was able to get one because it was actually quite the hassle to get that. And then got to witness a guest go ballistic on the on the cast members over I'm not entirely sure what, something related to diabetes and a food item or drink, I think. But they were like cussing out the cast members and making quite the scene. Security had to get over there, so that was somewhat entertaining. But obviously, hate that the cast members had to go through that and whatever misunderstanding there was. Um, but there was that. How was Dinosaur? Oh my god, dude, I love Dinosaur. Dinosaur's so good. Oh man, I'm so like the area it sucks. Like I'll like, and specifically the dinosaur fair area. Yeah, that thing, that's like, it's laughably terrible. They do have like one cool shop, but like, oh, that area is really bad. Um, but as for Dinosaur itself, that ride's so good. I love the pre-show. I love Dr. Seeker. I see why everyone hypes him up. Such a funny guy. Um, and then the ride itself. Now, I do prefer Indiana Jones. That's where I'm coming from. But I will say, I think Dinosaur is more intense than Indiana Jones. The movements feel more chaotic. And, you know, it's more so in the dark as well. So that definitely adds to, like, just the craziness of the ride. Definitely a lot more chaotic movements, it felt like, and just more frantic ride experience. Um, so that was really cool. And I mean, dinosaurs are just cool. That's like just a cool theme. And you know, going in before the asteroids hit to try to get the iguanodon, you know, that's a good premise. So yeah, no, dinosaurs, like, that was my favorite ride at Animal Kingdom, like, straight up. It wasn't even close. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Dinosaur is awesome. Really sucks that it's going and there isn't another version out there. I'm excited to see what they do with their version of Indiana Jones, because upon going into the queue and seeing how the ride's set up, I realized it's actually a lot trickier than I initially thought. Like, you can't just kind of one-to-one mostly recreate the ride, because there isn't a big grand reveal room, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, they have a tough challenge ahead of them when it comes with that. I will mention that. I mean, you're gonna get a Cars ride at Magic Kingdom, which, I mean, that'll be fun. Kind of weird placement and just in general, like, questionable in terms of adding it, but it'll be fun for sure. Oh right, back to the restaurants. Okay, so Tui's Canteen, I mentioned that. Woody's Lunchbox, I ate the brisket sandwich thing, which was really good. I also had Cosmic Rays at Magic Kingdom, had a burger there, that was pretty good. And sat in the room with that weird animatronic, but that was kind of a vibe. And then let's see, what else was there? At Epcot, I got some crepes from the France/Ratatouille area. Actually kind of underwhelming, especially the dessert crepe. There wasn't enough condensed milk in it, so I'd actually probably say skip. The actual, like, meat crepe was pretty good, but the dessert one left definitely a decent bit to be desired. I mean, especially because it's near the Ratatouille ride. Like, come on now. That's probably being too harsh. And then I don't remember what the name of the slider was, but it was like mushrooms and it's like really good cheese. But that was quite good. It was the Food and Wine Festival, so they had some of those items. Excuse me, I need to drink some water. But yeah, the pizza Via Napoli is in Epcot is legit the best pizza you've ever had outside of Italy. Okay, that might be a worth. I did not drink Beverly. I think I've already tried it at World of Coca-Cola or something like that. And it's pretty horrible, so I didn't need to try it at, like, Disney Springs. I actually never went to Disney Springs, surprisingly enough, which was unfortunate. but that's just ended up what happened. Um, let's see. I think that's all the restaurants I ate at. I'm trying to think. I think I tried someone's Dole Whip at some place. Like they got this Dole Whip thing that was pretty good. Um, I think that was honestly mostly the extent of food I had at Disney World. Um, let's see. Yeah, Magic Kingdom Space Mountain. The airtime is crazy. It's like I didn't want to like diss on Magic Kingdom Space Mountain. I just prefer ours. No, but no, Magic Kingdom Space Mountain is like a great ride. I think I have it in my top 40. Um, or at least close to it. Maybe not quite there, but it's just my Disneyland Space Mountain is like around the top 30 ride for me. So no slight to Magic Kingdom Space Mountain. It's still awesome. I'm curious though because I know they added music to it months ago. That was what Christian was telling me. And he's saying that it's not as scary, I guess, or with the music playing now because it used to be pretty silent, just in the dark. So I wonder what it would have been like experiencing that. So this is an actually extremely interesting one. So I was super excited to experience Tower of Terror, and it was awesome. Don't get me wrong. At Hollywood Studios, I guess without going into spoilers, I knew it had an extra aspect to it that the Disneyland version never had, even when it was Tower of Terror. And for reference, I did actually ride the Disneyland Tower of Terror when it was that theme, but I mean, it was before I was an enthusiast, just a little bit before. And of course, I've ridden Guardians like a few times at this point. So, in terms of which one I prefer, I actually do think our Guardians is better. The drop cycle's longer and more crazy. I think just re-ride value wise, I think I prefer Guardians over Tower of Terror. But Tower of Terror is definitely a unique experience, just for sure. Just in terms of what it does, and I mean, it was so cool to finally ride a version of Twilight Zone Tower of Terror again. I just love the theme, love the atmosphere of it. And it's so well done. So it's still one of my favorite rides in the resort, for sure. It's still an excellent drop tower. It's the second best drop tower I've ever done. So definitely not like wanting to like trash on or anything. It's absolutely incredible. Let's see what else. Yeah, Carousel of Progress. Honestly, kind of a funny show too. Some of the dialogue is interesting. I would also recommend that. It is about 20 minutes though, so heads up if you decide to do that. Ranking of all the coasters there. Yeah, I can actually rip through that probably pretty quick. So let me pull up. The only coaster I didn't do there at Disney World is Barnstormer. I didn't need it for the credits. And I haven't even mentioned the 200th coaster yet. Somehow no one's asked about it, which is kind of funny. But yeah, let's bring it up in the order here on my board. So, yeah, let's get it. Okay, so in last place of the coasters I did is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Now, I actually came in with really low expectations for Seven Dwarfs just because, everyone kind of trashes on it. You have to wait super long for it. It's not super long mine train coaster, but it's still like one of the better mine trains I've done. Obviously, it's not like Big Thunder Mountain level or anything like that, but I did get to ride in the back row. Some sneaky nice airtime on the drop out of the station and the main drop, so I will give it that. Just a fun overall ride. Otherwise, the scene in the mines with the dwarves, they yearn for the mines. That was a nice segment. I like that. The only thing is I really think they should do away with the facial projections for the dwarves animatronics. But besides that, that's a good time. Just overall, very solid, fun coaster. But nothing super standout, obviously, especially like because it gets one of the longer waits. I think I only ended up waiting 50 minutes for it, which is not as bad as I've heard other times, so could be worse. Next would be Slinky Dog Dash, which I just barely have it above Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And the benefit with Slinky Dog is I rode it at night, last ride of the night on my first day at Hollywood Studios. Figured because it was the only ride outside of Tower of Terror that like even goes outside that made sense to be the last one. That and so I could avoid waiting. I think I waited like around around like 45 minutes for it, end of the night. And it's another one where a lot of people kind of bash on it. Not a super long ride. Not like super forceful at all, especially because it has like the segment with all those hills that basically don't do really anything. But road, second to back road, there's a few airtime moments on it. It's an overall fun ride with the launch sequence. I like just going through the structure. It's just a very kind of fun, I think probably cute ride is the way to say it. Which maybe for a ride that has that long of a wait is probably not what people necessarily want. But I think it's fun. It's just, you know, you're whizzing around on Slinky Dog through a structure, with some launches, with little bit of airtime, but I mean, not really much other force otherwise. I don't know. It's a fun ride. Nothing groundbreaking, obviously, but I enjoyed it. And at night with the lighting package, which is incredible, and the vibes and everything, I think it's pretty good. That's my review of Slinky Dog Dash. Next, we have Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Very good mine train. I think I mentioned it earlier how I have it underneath. It's better layout wise than our version, but it's not as good because the thematics aren't there. And what I mean by that is there's a waterfall that hasn't been on in like a while that ours has and theirs hasn't. And then they're like big tunnel lift hill doesn't have the thematics and projections and everything that ours has. So those are the weak points. But otherwise, it's the same. It's basically the same thing. Very charming. Has some sneaky good airtime and good zip on it at points. So I like it. Yeah, Slinky over dwarves. I agree with that. I could see Seven Dwarves. I could. Maybe, and honestly, like Slinky Dog is definitely elevated by the fact that I rode it at night. Like I think if I did Slinky during the day, I wouldn't be surprised if I had Seven Dwarves or like did a Seven Dwarves night ride. Actually, I don't know about that, but I think that they're very close for me personally. Next, we have Rock and Roller Coaster. I'm not gonna lie, it's a fun coaster. Don't get me wrong, but I just the music's great. Like the music is really fun, along with going through the cutouts. Basically, is what I call it. But they were all lit up and everything. So like near misses, they're fun. The first launch is great. I do wish I got a front row ride on it because I feel like that's where the ride would have been at its best. And the inversions are like decent, but a lot of the ride layout, you're just kind of meandering around. I honestly prefer, even though Incredicoaster is kind of the same way with a lot of just moving around the track. I prefer Incredicoaster overall compared to Rock and Roller Coaster, honestly. If even though obviously different resort, but it's still a very fun coaster. I just think that Disney did some of their other mainstay coasters better at Disney World. So that's Rock and Roller Coaster. Number 4, we got Expedition Everest. This ride was like one of the most surreal rides, honestly, for me to ride. Because this coaster, when I was younger, like not even like a real coaster enthusiast, and my family was talking about going to Disney World, for a long time, this was like the big signature new ride. before they got a bunch of investment, like in the 2010s, like later half of it. This was like one of the big signature new rides. So being able to ride it, the scale of the theming is just so epic. Unfortunately, I only got 2 rides based on in single rider line, so I actually never even went through the queue, so that's not even a part of this. And I've heard the queue's like really good. So definitely something for me to do next time. Um, but uh, definitely my favorite element is the drop going forward out of the mountain, but the backwards drop and the backwards section is pretty cool as well. Um, and I just like the whole like storyline just with the Yeti ripping up the track at different points and then finally getting to meet him toward the end there. I just think it's super well done. And like I said, the scale of the theming and everything kind of makes that ride. Because honestly, from a force standpoint, it doesn't really offer much, but it's definitely just you ride it for the experience type of coaster. And I'd love to get a night ride on that. Honestly, that would be so good. And I rode at a time of year where it actually would have been possible to do that too, which is funny. Um, but even though the park's not open that late, like sunset's like pretty darn early, so um, that would potentially be a cool thing to do next time. I definitely could see that giving a really nice night ride. So that's Everest. Number 3 is going to be my 200th coaster in Tron Light Cycle Run. Haven't talked about this one yet either. I This is another one where my expectations, I had a bit lowered expectations because a lot of people rip on this ride for being too short. A lot of people said it was disappointing. I could potentially see that, but I was absolutely blown away by this. My first ride was that night, in the front row. That launch of the motorbike, and also the fact that I didn't realize until I rode it that the back thing is very flexible and gives a lot of give, which is kind of interesting. So being in that weird motorbike position and then being launched with that LSM launch, that's like really good. Honestly, one of my favorite non-hydraulic launches I've done, just because you're in that position and the vibes and everything with that launch. I mean that's an incredible moment. I absolutely love that. Um, in just a weird sensation, just when you're launched from there, and like I kind of had my upper body up, so I was like in a really odd position. So that was really sick. Absolutely love that. Obviously going through the canopy at night, that was like so surreal, so cool. And going into the indoor section, I was surprised. I wasn't thinking that there's a few twists in there that actually have airtime, which once again, because of the seating position you're in, is like super weird. I'm not saying it's like super strong airtime, but it's definitely there, and it's like just kind of crazy that you're getting in that position. So I absolutely love that. All the visuals, like going through the rings, the oncoming set of Tron vehicles that you're racing against, the orange ones, and all the different visuals and the soundtrack. It's so well done. It's so good. I'm definitely a big fan of Tron. I actually had the opinion I actually preferred it to Hagrid's based on my experiences, which is certainly a hot take. It probably won't hold up, but once I get a Hagrid's night ride, um, yeah, Tron, it was really sick. Number 2, we got Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom. Kind of brought it up over earlier, but actually, I would say that Rock and Roller Coaster is the most intense Disney coaster I've done, just from like pure positives. But Space Mountain is definitely the most chaotic. Yeah, this ride is insane. The airtime strength is absolutely absurd. You can't really tell where you're going either. It is, and back row is where it's at. I did front row, like it's cool, and there is one really good airtime moment up in the front, but man, the back row is where it's at. That is so sick. And number 1, unsurprisingly, we got Guardians of Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. I had a bit of a hard time figuring out where to put this in my overall rankings. I'm not one of those people who have it number 1 overall, but I am still very high on this. I mean, it's actually just barely cracked my top 10 when with where I ended up settling with it in my overall rankings. But yeah, so uh, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. I'm sure you guys are wondering what songs I got. I ended up getting Disco Inferno, my first ride, One Way or Another, my second ride, which I actually really didn't think that song fit for Guardians. And then my third ride, I got Iran. So those are the songs I got. Definitely would have liked to get September or Everyone Wants to Rule the World, just based on what my group was wanting and what I had heard. But and funny, at first I didn't want September because I didn't want it to be my first one because everyone gets that as their first one. But then once I started like getting a bunch of other songs, I'm like, okay, can I get September now? So it was kind of that sort of deal. But oh my gosh, it's so good. Row 9 is where it's at. If you know, it starts with backwards launch, and that's where you want to be because that's the back row to start. So that launch is incredible. It's such a long ride. The ride with the soundtrack and everything going on. It's kind of sensory overload, but in a really good way. It's Space Mountain. Disneyland Space Mountain on steroids. Is kind of like what I like the experience is like. But some of the airtime moments, just because you're also rotating, are pretty darn insane. All right, that's at least first time you write it, a little more, I'd say, predictable, like as you write it more and more, but pretty chaotic. And it's such a long ride too. It's just so good. So Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, for those reasons, easily my number one coaster. So fortunate to be able to write it 3 times, and even though maybe I didn't get the best songs, at least I got 3 different songs, which I was told was very fortunate, so very well could have not been the case. So I guess I said I'd rip through those, so I probably didn't rip through those, but that's the coaster rankings at Disney World for me. So there we go. Did not U8 at Pico Bills at Magic Kingdom. It was not good. Sorry to hear that. Saw the Via Napoli suggestion. I definitely will try to do that when I go back. I've heard good things about that one. Yeah, Guardians is my favorite ride at the if you're talking other really good rides at the resort besides the coasters, because obviously, I mean, you're going to Disney World, right? Already talked about Dinosaur. Rise of the Resistance actually would be my favorite ride at the resort if I rode it, just based on the Disneyland experience, so I will say that. But Dinosaur, Tower of Terror, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway was actually one of my favorites. I'm actually so happy that we have that at Disneyland, and allegedly a slightly better one too. That ride is so good. I love the frantic pacing of it, just the frantic storyline, just because, it's Mickey and Minnie cartoon, and my brother actually watches that series of cartoons. They're a fun watch, and I think the ride definitely did a good job replicating the franticness of that show in the ride. So I definitely like that. Movements were pretty exciting, good use of practical sets and screens. And then there was one use of the screens that I thought was very clever in terms of an illusion. So I just loved Mickey and Minnie's. I can't wait to ride it more over here. And then, I mean, Flight of Passage definitely would be one of the better non-coasters too. I'm just lower on it than most because it's about as probably well done as a flying simulator as a flying simulator could possibly be. It's very exciting and everything. Pre-show is kind of laughably bad though, so they might want to fix that. And just some of the acting in it. But the overall ride experience is awesome. It's just I prefer other types of ride experiences, so it's not like to me it's not one of the absolute best dark rides on the planet. But it's certainly the best flying theater I've done, so I'll give it that. Um, let's see. Oh, wait, the Seven Dwarfs swinging. I'm not gonna lie, that's one of the. I mean, I knew it wasn't gonna. I didn't really think that did like hardly anything. I mean, you could only feel the swinging um, on for me personally at least, like in like some of the straight sections, and as you were slowing down, I didn't think it added much at all. So that maybe that was just my ride experience, but yeah, I did not get anything from that. Honestly, I was like, man, yeah, that really didn't do a whole lot with that feature. Which I mean, it looks cool aesthetically. It looks sick, like when you see the trains go by and they're kind of swinging. But as for like a ride experience, I don't know. I didn't think it did a whole lot. Um, but I mean, it was still definitely a neat concept. I mean, Rock and Roller Coaster is like god tier compared to Flight of Fear at Kings Island, based on my experience. Rock and Roller Coaster, actually, I think a good way I describe it is like Rock and Roller Coaster felt like what I was hoping Flight of Fear was going to be at Kings Island. Just because Flight of Fear was horrifically rattly in my experience. Which is honestly, I think my rattle and roughness tolerance is pretty good. Like most of the times, I won't have it as a huge complaint or like knock coasters down like a huge amount of spots because of it. But for whatever reason, Flight of Fear is just yeah. It's I think it's the fact that it's indoors and in the dark that it makes it worse. That it runs the way it does. Because if it were just outdoors, I think it'd be like, I mean, you can anticipate what's happening and whatnot. So if you get what I mean. So I think when a ride's rough and you can't really anticipate that's kind of the problem. That's probably why I don't like Vekoma boomerangs when you go backwards. So, but anyways, you found Everest to be super intense. Both my rides were, I think, front half of the car, or not of the car, of the train. I did not find I was expecting there was going to be some pretty decent positives at points. I didn't really get that. Actually, the first ride was interesting because my friend was with me and he said that was like it was actually kind of jolty at points. I didn't think it was an issue, but he was saying that you could definitely feel it on ride. He said that, yeah, that was like the roughest ride experience he'd ever gotten on Everest, which is interesting. Like I said, not really an issue. I still very much enjoyed it, but worth noting. Space Mountain is more terrifying with lights on. Yeah, the clearance envelopes, they are insane. I had my arms out to the side and up. I mean, I don't think I was at risk to hit anything just because I'm not very tall. But the people I was with were kind of spooked at points. I think it was like my front row ride where I did that. Just because they thought for sure I was gonna hit something, but I mean, I don't think. First, I think I'm too short for that to be an issue. But yeah, the clearance envelopes are pretty insane. You can definitely tell. You got Everybody Wants to Rule the World. That's so cool. Yeah, I am very happy with Tron as my 200th. Like, is it like a super elite coaster like, I'd conventionally want my 200th to be? No, but it's just such a cool coaster, and it's one that I've been wanting. When they built it at Shanghai Disneyland, like, I was like, oh wow, I mean, that just looks so cool, I want to ride it. And then they brought it over here, although the Shanghai version definitely has better canopy. Just looking at how it's done. But even regardless, still, I mean, it was such a cool coaster to ride and very unique. The thing was, that is definitely like, I think people don't give it enough credit for being as unique of a ride as it is. There's some sensations on there that, like, straight up you don't get on any other coaster, just in that position. So, I'm very happy with Tron as my 200th. So, and yeah, there was, like, I kind of figured I'd probably like Space Mountain more, So theoretically, like, could I have made that my 200th? Yes. But I even knowing that, I'm like, Tron is just the cooler 200th, if you know what I mean. So, um, that's just how it is. The Shanghai Canopy, they did the lighting differently. And I didn't ever notice until like I was there, and I'm like, you can kind of look at the footage and the pictures, and like, yeah, it's actually kind of obvious um, when you look at that. But the way they do the lighting, I don't know the specifics, is different, but it is better. Um, let's see. General question: Knott's Berry Farm or Magic Mountain? I would take Magic Mountain. Um, but if you have a rough day at Magic Mountain, I can see Knott's, but you can also have a rough day at Knott's. So you know, there is that. Flight of Passage went over. I think I went over it. Really, really good flying theater. I mean, I just prefer it so much more than like Soarin' and the one I did in Ferrari Land. Um, and those rides are solid. They're just I'm not as big on those either. But just because like the movements on Flight of Passage is just a lot more exciting, a lot more engaging, I think. And I mean, just being able to fly on a Banshee, I think that's just such a cool idea, and I think it's well replicated on ride. Um, but yeah, I think it's very good for the ride model it is. I'm just kind of lower on the ride model in general. I have not watched Moana 2. I'm not seeing that in theaters. I'm good. I did watch Wild Robot actually when I was over in Orlando to kill Syme. That's a great movie. That was really cool to watch. So I'll give Wild Robot some praise there. Just really really amazing visuals with Wild Robot. And I mean, I'm a big zoo and aquarium person, so you know, just seeing a movie that's an animated film mostly based in nature, the way that one is really cool. So um, definitely love seeing that. Swinging is noticeable if you spend the whole ride. Oh well. The problem was at that point in the day when I went to ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. People I was going with, they were busy doing other things, so they weren't at the park, and you know, they didn't want to re-ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, so just because of how long of a wait it was, so I had to ride it by myself. So I got paired with another person. That is worth noting, though. If I, for some reason, decide to ride it again, and I have someone with me, maybe we do try to get the ride swinging. That would be pretty fun. I didn't even think of that. Let's see. Flight of Fear at Kings Island was extra bad this year. Well, if you're saying it was worse than 2022 when I wrote it, then yeah, I don't even want to know. Let's see. Favorite land? That's a good question. So, and we'll take I'll take Galaxy's Edge out of the equation for one. I walked through it, but I didn't experience that much of it, and we have it at Disneyland. So let's just take that out of the equation. The sad thing is Africa probably would be up there, but I didn't go in it, so that's kind of sad. I mean, Pandora, I just think the way that looks and I think Pandora is just jaw-dropping, so I'd have to go with that. I mean, they have a good restaurant, they have Flight of Passage. I did do Navi River Journey. I mean, the ride's basically there for the Navi animatronic, which is amazing. It's a fine ride otherwise, like, you know, atmosphere is cool, but the whole basically reason for that ride's existence is for that Navi animatronic, which is incredible. But I just will say, if you're riding it, I wouldn't expect too much of it besides like that animatronic. But yeah, I would have to say Pandora was my favorite. But Asia definitely was really cool. Like I will say. But yeah, that definitely is a good choice. I did not watch any of the night shows, so I did not. I could have watched Phantasmic if I wanted to. Just kind of decided I'm gonna prioritize, getting some last rides of the night, basically, and then heading out, pretty much. So didn't see any night shows. I guess I can. Let me see, because there's a few other things that I did that I have not mentioned yet. Oh, I did do It's Tough to Be a Bug at Animal Kingdom, since that's dying. Uh, that was a hilarious and crazy show. Um, like truly, truly that is a special show. I'm actually really bummed they're getting rid of it. For one, it's cool that they have it under the Tree of Life. I mean, that's pretty sick. I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but I mean, it's gonna die at this point. So, actually, it's not, because, but I actually, I mean, I won't go into spoilers for anyone who like somehow goes and hasn't done it. But there's one particular sequence that is like literally horror attraction worthy. Um, that happens where the room goes dark and then something else happens afterwards that is pretty darn insane and horrifying, especially for children. There were children crying in our theater. It added to the atmosphere. It's so funny. Like some children had to leave after that. Yeah, that show's crazy. I wish it was staying around. If you haven't done it and you go there, I actually would recommend. If not, then just go watch the video on YouTube. It won't quite do it justice, but like, I mean, it's definitely a really sick show. So, definitely traumatized. I mean, it has traumatized kids daily for 26 years. So that's pretty awesome. Not really. I mean, kind of not really, but um, yeah, that best way to put it. Stuff to be a bug traumatized you as a kid, but was a blast experiencing it as an adult and getting an entire theater of crying kids. Yeah, I apparently I watched it when I was younger, but like I was really really young. Apparently I wasn't like when I was at California Adventure. I don't have that much good memory of it. But uh, yeah, it was, but I apparently wasn't like scared of it or crying at least, so I can say that. It's basically the show for those of you who haven't done it. It's like a 3D screen based show, but there are animatronics and other physical enhancements to the show. So, like I said, if you go to Animal Kingdom before it goes away, I would highly recommend doing it. I really would. I think it is definitely one of those things that like once it's gone, it's one of those things that's gonna be talked about quite a bit. So, and it's the only version remaining. So, uh, definitely do it. Also, guys, give congratulations to Jackson for becoming a ride supervisor today. Congratulations on that. That is awesome to hear. Um, but do I have any plans to revisit Discovery Kingdom again soon? Well, I'm locked into a Six Flags pass next year, and I have the All Parks passport as well. So definitely is a possibility to happen. I can't say that I'm planning to do it, but you never know. So, but congratulations on becoming a ride supervisor. That's really awesome. Um, for you, you prefer knots. The thing with you when you go to parks is that you don't go for just the coasters. You also go for the entertainment and theming, and knots definitely does that better. I used to have knots over Magic Mountain. It's just, and if you include Scary Farm, like if we kind of factor in Scary Farm, I might put Knott's over Magic Mountain, especially because I've done Fright Fest and like yeah, Scary Farm it clears and is awesome. Um, but it's just, I mean, man, it feels like the times I've went recently, like there's just multiple rides that I want to do down. Like Accelerator, of course, like you know that's pretty temperamental. Even Hang Time though, last time when I went. And it's just like they don't have a huge ride collection. But to be fair, I haven't really done the shows there, so that is on me. I don't do shows at parks, but you know, there's some that I'll go out of my way for. So I definitely could see why you prefer Knott's, and that's a very valid reason. Um, let's see. Yeah, but Africa has like the cool animal exhibits, so that's the thing. Did not think about this. Walt Disney World or Universal Orlando? So Islands is, I mean, miles better than any of the other parks. So in that sense, that park clears, just because it's a lot more, I feel like, complete. I feel like the problem with Disney World is like, and this also is definitely a Disneyland bias thing where both Disneyland and California Adventure feel a little bit more complete and robust than I'd say at least, maybe not all, but most Disney World parks, just in terms of capacity and things of that sort. Um, so I think Disney World's parks kind of struggle with that. That being said, I think I still would have to take Disney World, just because I do have all the Disney World parks, just a smidge above Florida. Or actually, Animal Kingdom I do have behind Florida, but that might change upon getting a more complete visit because that's the one I experienced the least of. Like, I mean, I didn't even do the animals part of it, you know, the thing that's in the name. So, you know, that could change. But I would say Disney World for now. Once Epic Universe opens, we can definitely revisit this because I think that's a huge game changer. That's not even including like, you know, water parks because I haven't been to Volcano Bay and I haven't been to Blizzard Beach or Typhoon Lagoon. Honestly, I don't think I ever end up hitting those, but we'll see. Volcano Bay, I think I'll get to, but I don't know about the Disney World ones. Just hard to see myself doing, but that was something. You almost watched the Stitch show, but you backed out when you went in 2013. Dang, that's an F in the chat. Heard that was a fun one. How did I get to Magic Kingdom? Boat or ferry or monorail? How about both? First time I went to Magic Kingdom, it was via monorail. And then the second time, we were going to take the monorail, but the monorail to Magic Kingdom was temporarily down, so we had to take the ferry. So I have taken the ferry, so I did both. So yeah. You have to go, Michael. Good to have you here. And thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a good night as well. So, see you later, Michael. You like Magic Kingdom better than Islands of Adventure? Hey, I mean, it's hard. I have very weird perspective on Magic Kingdom, having, you know, been to Disneyland multiple times, but I can, in a way, certainly understand that. So, I certainly would say Magic Kingdom feels like the most, like, just kind of complete. Like I said, just in terms of park, like, has like the ride lineup and everything. So I do have DCA over all the Disney World parks, honestly. I will say that I think just once again, I think it's just like that is definitely from a rides lineup sort of deal. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Drop Tower. I don't know why the rest of the name is escaping me right now. But Cars Land, Raiders, Springs Racers. I mean, both those rides legitimately are, I mean, right there. Those would be two top four rides at the entire Disney World resort for me personally. Um, so you have that. Grizzly River Run is so good, like underratedly one of my favorite Disney World rides because that's like the greatest rapids on the planet, at least, well, that I've maybe not on the planet. There's a lot of good ones I haven't done, but that's an elite one. Let's just say that. You have Grizzly River Run, Incredicoaster, obviously. That's a really fun ride. Soarin', as much as I kind of like, it's still a fun ride. It just has quite a bit in general. So, in comparison to the other ones, I feel like, we did call it by, that acronym, actually. I did do Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, believe it or not. We did it one of the mornings. We didn't have the best of audiences. During the show portion, though, the show highlighted both me and Christian from Theme Park Horizons. Like, these guests randomly have the urge to dance, so we had to dance on the spot. That was somewhat embarrassing, but funny. If only we got footage of that. It just happened so quickly that the other people in our group were not quite able to do that. We were not expecting to be picked there. Yeah, it's if we got a better audience, it probably would have been better. But it was still an interesting show. Just to go, like I said, I meant to go through this. So let's see, what other attractions did I do? I did Toy Story Midway Mania, which I mean is the same. Another great ride at California Adventure, actually. Another one of my favorite shooters. And they have Spider-Man, which is fun, but too. So add that to the list there. But besides the queue, which obviously was pretty different, so that was kind of cool to experience it with like more of the toys. It was the same, but it was a fun ride. I did Muppet Vision, as I mentioned. I did do Spaceship Earth at Epcot, along with the I didn't put it the name. I listed it. Oh, the American Adventure, I think is what it's called. It's like the 20-minute America's history recap of animatronics that was like made in the 80s or whatever. That was actually really cool. I will say, animatronics were actually surprisingly good considering they're mostly from that age. It has kind of the Born Stuntacular setup, which is kind of funny. Obviously before Born Stuntacular, with the way it's set up, but that's pretty cool. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, didn't get to that. Very disappointing. Mission Space, Orange, Grand Fiesta Tour, Journey into Imagination with Figment. I mentioned all those Magic Kingdom ones. And then I also did Country Bear Jamboree. I mentioned Buzz Lightyear. Living with the Land, and I did Seas. And I think that's it. I think that covers all the rides I did that I hadn't mentioned yet. I did not do Alien Swirling Saucers. I did have to skip out on that one. I prefer California Adventure. Now, Hollywood Studios is on the higher end of the parks. I have it as my 2, just because I kind of apply Galaxy's Edge. Even though I didn't do it, I'm like, yeah, I'll just throw that in there as part of like the thinking of the ranking, because I've done it at Disneyland and it adds quite a bit there, and it definitely does here as well. But that's another park that has like a small ride lineup, but loaded on the quality aspect. So, because Tower of Terror, Rise, Tower of Terror, Mickey and Minnie's, Rock and Roller Coaster, Toy Story Midway Mania, even like Slinky Dog Dash, Star Tours, Smuggler's Run, like that's a pretty good lineup. That's pretty darn good. But yeah, I did do Journey into Imagination. I'm not gonna lie, as far as like the meme rides I've done go with, like, Winnie the Pooh at Disneyland, I love that ride. Cat in the Hat and Islands of Adventure, I think that's a fantastic just acid trip meme ride. Journey into Imagination kind of fell a little bit short. It definitely is. Figment is definitely grating and annoying, and I guess in a way I can kind of see why people like him and his appeal, but oh my gosh. I I did not vibe with it much. Seeing Eric Idle Moon though, that was cool. The last segment was like the one acid drip part, but I was expecting it to be like more like that consistently. I guess. But it was more just Figment hijacking stuff. So, like the different labs, and then until they get to the imagination part of the ride, where the ride basically goes like ballistic for like 30 seconds. Um, and then let's see, Magic Kingdom needs to step up their food quality. Like I said, the burgers they had at Cosmic Rays were pretty good. So maybe you just didn't pick the best location. But I feel like there's got to be options at Magic Kingdom. But in general, yeah, I guess most of the suggestions I got were not for Magic Kingdom, so you might be onto something there. Before I went, and I'll see you later. Charged on PC. Thanks for watching. Thanks for winning Guess the Ghoster. And yeah, so let's see. As far as the other Disney rides, are there notes that I want to give? Oh, Living with the Land I did do with the lights overlay, so that was cool. And it was a calm, relaxing ride. Living with the Sea is like, I mean, it gets you into the aquarium, so that's cool. The reveal into the aquarium is kind of cool. I did get to check out the actual Seas Aquarium, which was uh, pretty cool to see, since that was at one point the world's largest aquarium tank. So that was pretty cool. Other than that, I think most honestly, I think that's pretty much all I got for Disney, unless anyone asks anything else. So that'll lead us to buy or sell / final Q&A. I think that Disney discussion lasted a while, so I'll probably wrap this up by what it's gonna probably be 11:55 Eastern. I'll probably wrap it up, so like in 14 minutes. But any last questions you have about anything, also could be Disney, just could be anything in general. Also, if you have any buy or sells, now would be the time to ask them. But that's gonna pretty much be the ending segment of our stream. Actually, I guess Remy's, there is one thing I should mention with Remy's. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, the one good thing about it, about my experience, was the day I went to Epcot was the first day they ever opened the single rider line. So I actually ended up only having to wait 10 minutes for it, which was like the good part of that. But man, I love Ratatouille the film, and that ride, I mean, it's just like it's very screen based. It does have some practical stuff as well, but just the way the movements are done and like the overall execution of the ride. I mean, for the premise of the ride basically being that you're a rat, that's trying to escape being like killed in the kitchen, basically, or at the restaurant at Gusteau's. I feel like the movements should have been a little bit more exciting. I don't know. Um, I was not super impressed. So, um, yeah. So that I will mention that for Remy's. But on the buy or sell, the new record-breaking coaster will be somewhat Great American Scream Machine themed. I don't think so. I'm gonna sell that. I don't really. That certainly would be something. But I don't think they would do that. I think they'd go with a different, unique theme. Just because, I mean, for something so iconic and large as what the car replacement is going to be, I think it should at least be original enough. I also think, I think they're going to redo that area anyways, and so it won't be like anything car related name wise. So, yeah, honestly, I think that's probably the way to go, is to do it that way, as opposed to doing like a throwback. But if they decide to go that route, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think they should probably. I mean, I guess I would because I'm saying that I think they should go with something new. But if they decide to go that route, that'd be understandable as well. What is my process for ranking coasters? You wrote all of yours on individual index cards. Oh, that's interesting. That's kind of a good way to do it. My process is, I once I've ridden a coaster, it depends. Sometimes I can kind of pin where they're gonna be right off the bat, especially if they have like similarities to other rides I like and are better in some aspects or worse in some aspects. It's like I can kind of like I have it all in the spreadsheet. Like I kind of know where it can be. Other times, like this trip, honestly, I didn't rank the rides for like a good while just because I was so busy. Like have like specific spots for them. A lot of times, what I'll do is like after a trip, even if I've ranked them, I'll like kind of watch the POVs and everything, kind of just to refresh, like kind of think about all the moments that happened on ride. Kind of reevaluate, be like, okay, yes, like this moment specifically was really good. Just kind of remembering everything, and then kind of applying that. Also, every year when I do those rankings, I also will once again like rewatch like almost all the POVs of the coasters that I have in like the big ranking. Just once again to get a refresher. And then sometimes I'll be like, oh, you know what? I think this coaster's a little too high. Just kind of thinking back at it and everything. So, which sometimes is why certain coasters will drop in my rankings despite me not having ridden them in like a little while. It's just kind of going that way. So maybe that's not the best explanation, but that's like part of my process. Like I said, initially, especially if a ride is similar to another one and is, just in the general caliber of range of said ride, whether it's like, better, worse, whatever, that helps in being able to rank it. Obviously the most tricky ones are like stuff that's really unique. Like, I mean, Cosmic Rewind, I was really kind of all over the place. Just in terms of like, wow, this is like just so different than what I've previously done. And honestly, Tron too, just because was also kind of a tricky one because I'm like, I mean, there's certain moments on this ride that I love that I can't get specifically because of the way you're seated. You can't get this on any of the other coasters on that list. And some of the highlight moments I think are really high, but you gotta weigh different things. So that's probably a long-winded explanation of that. The main park in SoCal is Disneyland, California. That is my number one park. It's amazing. It's incredible. I mean, honestly, the fact that I rode Mini and Minis and was as in love with it as I was, just I like I said, I cannot, like, that ride was honestly one of the most impressive of the trip. Just because with the right type of, it was so good, and I'm so happy we have that. I think that kind of makes up for the fact that we sort of lost Splash Mountain. We'll see what I think of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It's still going to be, like, the best log flume I've ever ridden. But, like, just how much worse off it is than Splash Mountain, we'll see. But I think adding this offsets whatever that is. So, more than that. So, another fantastic addition for Disneyland. Another W. Buy or sell, Frontier City will finally get something in 2026. I'm going to sell. They already have a pretty hefty slate of investments lined up. We'll see. I think there could be other additions that have not been announced as part of that grouping. I don't think a Frontier City edition would be part of it, so I'm gonna sell on that, unfortunately. Prediction on the next B&M to go full defunct. That is a good question. So that I'm gonna have to go to RCDB probably for that. Because obviously you had Green Lantern, which I didn't mention, I guess, when we went through it, but that thing is scrap, like, not getting relocated. I thought the chances of it getting relocated were, like, very slim anyways. But let's see. I'm gonna go with B&M. Let's go with original location, like just so we get the old ones. I think Firebird's probably relatively safe. Patriot, it'll close when Great America closes, but that's a while from now. Vortex Carowinds seems like that's safe. Actually, the Kumba rumor mill is starting to kind of pick back up again, and it's going to be, I think, down for like the rest of the season. I think we are truly getting close to the end for Kumba. Like, as in, you know, next 2 years. I'm not saying it's like really done, like, oh, it's going to close tomorrow. But I know it's like it's been the thing. It's like, oh well, like is it finally done? Like because of all the rumors that have taken place at this point. But I think Kumba is gonna be next. I think that would probably be my prediction. Because I don't see these other ones being the next ones. I mean, it'll be interesting once we get to the point where all these Batman clones, like, tough decisions are going to be made, but I don't know that we're there yet in terms of, like, that happening. So I think it's going to be that. I think some other sneaky favorite, like some other sneaky ones. Problem is Cedar Point, you know, they're already doing with a lot. But I've heard Raptor, like, it's pretty darn old. One of the oldest inverts. Might be not super long in tooth there. Rougarou is, I think one of those two could be one of, or maybe the next Cedar Point coaster gone. I think between one of those two, it definitely could be one of those. As much as I hate to say it, I mean, well, we have seen Green Lantern close. Does that put Riddler's Revenge out there for Magic Mountain? I would hate to see it, but, you know, I would love the logic of, you know, they close Scream, and then if they, I mean, I think Riddler's Revenge is probably good as a stand-up, but if they wanted to make it a floorless, fine. If that'll make it so more people like it. But I think those could be some sneaky shout-outs. But I think Kumba's probably the favorite, because I could see it closing next year. So that's like what we're talking about here. So these other ones, I don't think they're in that same level. So we'll see. But I'm gonna guess Kumba. Please Firebird. Yes, in terms of what would be nice to see, yes, but I don't see it. I mean, it's not like, although when did the Firebird thing happen? When was that? What year? Couldn't have been, it wasn't 2016, right? No, okay, no. Okay, it was in 2019. Yeah, no, that thing is, I think it's good for a little bit. I think it's probably fine. Because I was thinking, I'm like, it couldn't have been that long ago. It's like, it's 2019, which honestly it feels like it was closer than that, but I mean, it's still, that at least is not too long ago, so yeah. Well, we'll go with Kumba, sadly. Even though it's like, I mean, even throwing that one out there is like going to get people upset just because of all the BS rumors that have come out about it. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up the stream. Happy to be back here. back at home after Orlando, and it was cool to talk about IAAPA and Disney World and the different, and of course also a little bit of SeaWorld and Fun Spot and talking about all the different rides and all the different experiences. So that was obviously good. Just in terms of when you can expect to see this next stream, it might be basically about a month from now. Just because, next few weeks of school, we're getting into finals, and like getting done with projects time. So, that's definitely going to be a big focus of mine. So I'm probably not going to do anything with the channel, until that's done basically. Which is, I think, third week of December. So yeah, probably next stream will be about a month from now, maybe a little less. And that'll be, I'm thinking I'll probably be doing a end of year kind of recap stream, kind of have a plan in place for that. So that should be fun. And then we'll see. Sorry, need water again. And then we'll see what happens moving forward. Obviously, this half of the year especially, we haven't really had much guests on. I'm hoping that I can ramp that up next year, and specifically next semester. I actually will only have 2 in-person classes if schedule goes the way I believe. Like the way I have it set up currently, and I don't make changes. So hopefully that might be able to make that more likely to happen, but I can't absolutely guarantee it. But those are just some things you can expect in the next few months. And then obviously, if you don't follow me on Instagram already, you can check that out in the description. My whole link tree is in there, so would definitely recommend doing that, because I'll be posting like the news and stuff, and various things on there. So I would definitely recommend doing that. But that's kind of the plans for the near future, and that'll pretty much fully bring this to an end. So thank you to all of you for watching, and I will see you all next time here on Coaster Hour. See you all.